whenever I see things going badly, I'm like, there's an opportunity here. So now I can go over and allocate time and resources to this other thing that I've been neglecting. And that's going to carry over here because I haven't been focusing on that.
There's people out there that need help, and I know how to teach them how to move as well. So I just started shifting more towards that lifestyle person. You help somebody overcome type 2 diabetes. That's life-changing.
Time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. Anthony and Aaron from MODUS, right?
You got it.
That's right.
Where I'm going to jump off, because I just jump off right now, because the bio will give your credentials and all the other stuff. Plus, it's going to come up as we're speaking anyhow, is you've had all-time world record in powerlifting and world's strongest, America's strongest, right? So at the world level, so we're gonna talk about that. But where I want to come off now or jump off from is when you're coming from that world level and now you're helping people with just fitness. Like how do you cross that bridge? Because obviously for anybody that's listening, one's healthy, one's not, right? And it's not what people think. Like helping the average person, the average client coming into you is probably starting healthier, right, than when you're competing in your prime. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
Yes,
100%.
Yeah, so there's a gap there that falls in there, right? So how do you go about, either one of you can start with this, but how did you go about bridging that gap? Because you've been around for a while too. You've seen other people hit that gap. Yeah. And it kind of depends upon the strength sport on how they handle it. Like bodybuilders downsize pretty easily. Powerlifters just seem to get fat and drink. Strongmen, I think, just die. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happens there.
Yeah.
With that, because they're so big. But it is because there's an identity tied up in it, all that too. And then when you move into what you guys are doing, you're still doing it. Right. So it's an addiction. It's an identity. Right. And if you're abusing drugs, you just stop using the drugs, but you're still doing the thing. You're still competing. You're still doing the thing.
Right.
How'd you go about dealing with that?
Yeah, I can kick that off a little bit. I mean, my avatar has shifted a lot. So when I first started coaching, all I cared about was performance and being the best. And it wasn't healthy. I just wanted to help people be as strong as possible. Now, I did early on lean into metabolic health. And the reason for that is, so my son, he's now 11. When he was 2, he was diagnosed with autism. And my wife and I went down a rabbit hole of everything we could do to help him. So we ate fairly clean. I mean, I don't know, better than the average American, but I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, I'm reading articles like, eat big, lift big, and I'm just eating everything in sight. And for my son, we went down this rabbit hole of like, okay, we have to lower inflammation for him. So his speech therapy, his occupational therapy progresses. And so here are the things we're going to change from a dietary perspective. And very quickly, it got super burdensome on my wife to prepare certain types of foods for Haddon. And then the rest of us eat the way that we're eating. And so I just said wholesale, okay, and at that time we were like gluten-free, dairy-free, just trying everything. And so we just started really dialing in our family's health for him. And at the time, I wasn't blasted anything yet. Okay. So I had set this goal in my head. I'm not going to run any anabolics until I'm 30. That was rule 1. And then I need to bench 4, deadlift 6, squat 5 before I ever touch anything, overhead press 3. Ironically, the last domino to fall was a 300-pound log press. On my 30th birthday, I pin test the next morning. That was a birthday present to me. So this is the only variable that had changed in my strongman training to that point was my nutrition. I started really eating clean whole foods, tons of fruits and veggies, really dialing in my protein, got away from all processed foods, and my performance exploded. And you remember, this is a time, early mid 2000s, like 2010, 2011, powerlifters were just big and fat. They could bench a house, but they weren't. And then you had guys like Dan Green coming on the scene who were like shredded, could step on stage and then also pull in 900 pounds. I'm like, what's that? So I feel like I got an advantage because I started layering in nutrition with my strength athletes because I saw what it was doing for me. And a lot of people weren't really doing that in strongman. Like,
how did that impact your volume of food though? Because if you're just, when you're a strength athlete and you're eating like crap, let's just put it that way. You're doing it because you're trying to hit a caloric need to be able to gain weight or keep the weight that you have. And in most cases with that calorie level, you're covering your bases with micronutrients and all the other stuff. Inflammation, yes, it's high and all the other. So if you change that, it's like, okay, now it's all going to be clean. The volume of food that you need to eat is almost double.
It's insane.
It really is. But well, one thing to keep in mind, I was a weight class strongman. So I was a 105K pro. So I was not open heavyweight gaining, 300 pounds. So
still 4,500 calories.
It was. I've always had a good appetite. I was a fat kid my whole life. Yeah. Like I lost a bunch of weight in college and got lean. And so eating, 4,500 calories of clean food really wasn't a problem for me. I mean, I will pound some mashed potatoes and chicken and veggies, and that really wasn't a problem. And I feel like I've always had this, I've just not needed to eat quite as much. I don't know, just genetically, I don't need to eat a ton to grow. I probably don't eat as much as people think I do. Mm-hmm. I would walk around the off season around 260, and then competition, I have to weigh in at 231.4. I would start dieting down. If I could I tried to never cut more than like 8% of my body weight in water. It got a little dicey sometimes making weight, but I've done it. And so I never had to get massive. So I personally never struggled with that, but I was just layering in nutrition with my strength athletes, and that kind of set me apart. But to answer your question the whole way around is that I started early with a focus on health because I thought, okay, what we're doing to our bodies is not healthy. Obviously, I'm never going to argue that steroids are healthy, but we can be smart and mitigate risk. And if you are healthy at the cellular level, you're going to look and perform better. Like that was the unlock that I had for me is I didn't change any other variables. I just started dialing in my food and everything was better. I was getting stronger. My deadlift was exploding. Everything was going great. And so I really started to lean into like, let's be as healthy as we can while we wreck our bodies, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then as I've gotten older and my priorities have shifted, my avatar has shifted with me. So I think I've just bridged the gap because now I work with a lot of executives and founders and business owners and just average folks. I'm not competing in strongman anymore, right? I dabble in jiu-jitsu. I ran a marathon and an ultra this past year. I still train like a bodybuilder because I love it and I'll always train, but I'm in kind of my longevity arc, if you will, my optimization arc. I'm on TRT and that's about it. I'm not trying to blast anymore. I'm trying to be as dialed in and as healthy as I can be. And so my avatar has come along with me. So I think I bridged it kind of naturally because I'm walking the path of the people that I'm helping now. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did the elimination diet help your son?
To a degree. So we definitely noticed more improvement when he was off of gluten. Mm-hmm. So his diet is so hard. I mean, in fact, I do a lot of gut health stuff because his diet is so limited. He's developed a lot of gut health issues. And so I kind of became an expert in gut health because of him. And we're still dealing with it even now because he's a walking carbohydrate. Like that's what he eats. Yeah. And I mean, he was having episodes where his blood sugar is crashing constantly. And it's like, we do our best. We give him like, gluten-free pretzels, but we're trying to get, I make him eat cheese. I don't let him eat carbs alone. I'm trying to get protein in there. We found recipes. My daughter thankfully loves to bake and experiment. So she's finding ways to bake. She mills her own sourdough grain, mills her own grain and does sourdough bread, and she'll make muffins with protein in it. She's found cottage cheese recipes or mac and cheese recipes with a cottage cheese base to get the protein up.
How old is he now?
He's 11.
Okay. The reason I ask is my son, when he was diagnosed, we did the same thing. The only thing I can remember him actually eating was celery with peanut butter. Like it was Dr. Serrano was helping with that. It was like everything was out and Diet Sprite, like clear fluids, right? Celery, peanut butter. And, now that he's older, I don't think any of those were really triggers, for any of the symptoms or whatever you want, I don't want to say symptoms because it's a spectrum. It's just who they are. But at that time I was still eating, I was still 300 pounds. So it's like, fuck it. I didn't change anything I was doing. I was just piling it all on top. So I didn't have that same realization that you had, but I already kind of quit competing.
Sure.
But it's when they're young, you're trying to do everything.
Right.
You'd be able to figure it out,
right.
With that. So I'm always curious because it seems a lot of the parents that I speak to, that's one of the first areas they go to.
Yeah.
Is, we're going to look at the diet. We're going to look at all that. Some stick, some don't.
Right.
It's just as they get older, because they're still kids,
right.
they're still going to mature and get older.
And ironically, he's not unlike every other kid where he will pound chocolate chip cookies and sweet stuff all day long.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, whoa. And he's verbal. Sometimes not always understandable, but he's verbal, very expressive, very smart kid. He knows so much more than his ability to express. I mean, he'll be obsessive about things and he'll watch a movie and he'll wear that thing out. And then, so for many years, he was obsessed with Emperor's New Groove. And we have tons of Legos in the house. And I would come downstairs and find 10 to 15 different of the most complex llamas built out of Legos. I could never do that without instructions. Like, what is in this kid's brain? Like, he is so smart, but then he doesn't have ability to express it. We homeschool our kids. And so for him, schooling looks a little different for Haddon, but yeah, he's a wildly intelligent kid and we do our best with him. I'm sneaking, probiotics in his drink. I'm sneaking multivitamins in. Like I'm doing the best that I can with him, and his tastes constantly change. For years, he loved peanut butter. I'm like, sweet, this is a source of healthy fats and some protein. It's not a protein source for anybody listening, but I'm like, I'll take what I can get with him. And then he just decides randomly one day that he hates peanut butter. I'm like, really? Yeah. But last week, the family was making burgers and he's like, Mom, can I have a burger? And she's like, what?
There you go.
And he pounded a burger. And like all this last week, he's been asking for burgers. And I'm like, okay, make the kid burgers. I'm like, how long is this going to last? We'll take it. But yeah.
So how did you bridge that?
Oh, man.
You're still in it, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't really bridge it. You just
changed it.
Yeah.
I shifted.
Yeah. You changed lanes.
So my journey is a little bit different because I wasn't a fat kid. I was a skinny kid. And I played water polo and swimming in high school. So I have like an athletic background. And then I went in, I played in college, and I quickly realized if I eat healthier, I'm going to look better and feel better. So I was always the guys would come to my house and I'd have like the rotisserie chickens out and making brown rice and steamed broccoli and all that kind of stuff. So I was always eating healthy and, had that competitive itch to always compete as well. So after the career ended with that, I kept playing water polo, but I was always lifting to supplement that. And then I was doing like rec league basketball and all these other things. And I kept getting hurt playing sports, right? That's what happens. You play sports, you get hurt. It's dynamic. Everything's changing. So then I decided, let me just stop the sports and just lift and see what happens. So first thing I got into is bodybuilding. Obviously nutrition is huge with that. Very unhealthy though, but I did have to eat correctly for that. So it's just like an extension of what I was doing, but I had to get more dialed in, right? I really had to monitor what I was doing. So I really started to understand the nutrition side of things as far as like what I ate, what it was doing, how it was affecting my body. Before it was just like eat healthy. So anyways, did the bodybuilding and then. So
with the water polo, you were eating healthy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got to stay pretty lean for that.
Well, doesn't the sport kind of keep you kind of lean? Cause
it's crazy. Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot of calories.
You eat nonstop.
Yeah.
You can eat whatever you want, but I was pretty much eating clean while doing that. So then got into the sports stuff and, I still have that competitive itch through the bodybuilding and quickly find out that that's based on people's opinions. And I find powerlifting and I'm like, okay, let me do both back and forth. And then I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. You're telling me all I got to do is lift 5 more pounds than that dude and I beat him? Yeah, I'm just going to go powerlift. So then I started doing powerlifting and I quickly found out I could be pretty good at it if I pushed it. And I started pushing it and I got pretty good at it. And I kept pushing harder. And I was never about a weight cut ever. So I was like, I need to fill out this 242 weight class. Like if I really want to fill it out, I got to get to 250 plus and then maybe I can think about cutting, but I got to get heavy. He says he doesn't have to eat a lot to gain weight. I have to eat a ton. My metabolism's crazy. So I then start eating like garbage. Okay. We're talking, I was a teacher at the time and the kids would know me because I would walk around the school eating baguettes. Like I was like, I'm going to eat a whole baguette every day. I'm going to eat Pop-Tarts between meals. Like I started eating everything just to get the calories in. and I still couldn't gain the weight. I think I saw 250 on the scale like one time at night. And so I'm just pushing it. But then I realized my health was not good, like really bad. Like walking, you're walking upstairs, you're winded. My blood pressure started getting really high. I started competing at these meets and I started blacking out. Like my best total ever came at a meet where I blacked out on squat. They grabbed me. My wife runs up. She's like, "What took you so long to grab him?" Like, I just remember her face as soon as I came to. And of course I say, "Did I get the squat?"
Yeah.
But I didn't get the squat. But anyways, that meet I ended up like having my best bench and best deadlift ever. I have no idea how that works, but I wanted to go. And my wife was actually the one, and my coach at the time was like, just bench and see how it feels. And I ended up doing really, really well in that meet. And, but I just kept doing that and just kept trying to push the limit, because you know how it is. Once you start chasing.
Well, I was going to say, everything you just said just tells me that you're ready for the meet.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody sees that as a negative. It's like, this is right where you need to be. You had a really good meet.
Right.
Yeah,
because I'm following all these guys. I'm listening to people like Brandon Allen talking about, eating ramen and all kinds of stuff. And, so you think it's normal what you're doing, because, you're doing it in pursuit. But I think you just get so caught up in that pursuit of that next number. And, open powerlifting, you're like chasing the rankings. Like, obviously I know I'm not going to beat John Hack, but I'm like, okay, who's next on the list? Who's next on the list? So I'm eating bad. I'm chasing people, and my health was not great. We had my daughter, and she was getting older, and I noticed like, I can't run around and play with her. I'm coming home from training sessions and my nervous system is completely jacked up. So it's affecting my family life as well.
What was your age at the time?
Like 36, 37,
Yeah.
so I'm just pushing everything, and, and then you realize like later on I can reflect, and I made it an idol. Okay. Like chasing the powerlifting became an idol for me for many years. And you can't have that when you have a family. It just doesn't work. And then my health is suffering for it too. So I started to think about how I'm going to make things better with my health. And the first step was I have to drop down a weight class, because my body does not do well in that 242 weight class. So I went down to 220, and I felt better at 220. I was able to move a lot better, and I was still pretty strong. That's when I set the all-time world record for the 220 Masters. When I turned 40, I did a meet, just got 2.5 kilos over the world record at the time. I got it on, I think 7 attempts. I just took exactly what I needed to break the record. It was, a big moment. And then of course you're afterwards, what do you do when you break the world record? It's like, oh wait, maybe that wasn't like the end goal for life. And maybe I should actually like start to think just about longevity, like you were saying. So, after I hit that record, it was kind of just this feeling of what's next. Somebody beat it, and it's like, do I really want to like go back and forth and try to do this? Like, I'm 41 now. Like, does this make sense? I got my daughter, my family. So then I really want to just get more into health. And then ran into Anthony, and I was kind of, he saw what I was doing, and he kind of was like, hey, what do you think about coming under my brand name? At the time, it wasn't MODUS.
Right.
It was just like,
we didn't have a brand.
There was no brand.
I had an idea.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. And then we start, I've done my own labs before. I was very involved with that and just making sure that I was getting right, but I wasn't asking for labs from people that I was coaching. And so then we went down that rabbit hole, and we started going down the whole metabolic health thing and getting people right. And I just started learning a lot more, digging into it. And, it's just awesome to help people, to help them get healthier. And anyway, so my whole journey then, I'm still competing. You said I still do. Like, I just competed last month in December, and it wasn't my best total, right? I did a little over 1,800, but I went 9 for 9. I had a great time. It was the healthiest I've ever competed. I went in prep. I did my heaviest deadlift of prep when you take it about 3 weeks out. That's what we're supposed to do. It was like an RP 12 705 deadlift. Yeah. It was nuts. But then I'm trail running that same week. That never would have happened back when I was chasing everything and going nuts. So I was much healthier. Supplements were way down in comparison. So it was a good meet. I had a good time. And now I'm just trying to be like, okay, I can compete for fun and just focus on staying healthy, because you can still compete. You just have to not always chase that PR. I have to take what's there in my life, but I'm competing because I love the sport and I just love to lift heavy. Heavy is a feeling. It's not a weight. I got to put the number necessarily aside and just have fun with it. So I'm not necessarily ready to give it up because I want to have fun competing. But yeah, so anyways, being healthy for me, that kind of led me into more of like a lifestyle client as well, learning about the metabolic health, doing the labs, everything like that. I started going more towards that lifestyle route. And let's be real too, I was coaching powerlifters. I'm not going to make a living coaching powerlifters.
Yeah.
It's such a niche thing. Like there's people out there that need help and I have the tools to get them healthy and I know how to teach them how to move as well. So many guys have like lower back pain, stuff like that. I'm fixing these problems for people. And so I just started shifting more towards that lifestyle person. And then you get a couple cool moments where you help somebody overcome like their type 2 diabetes. You reverse their diagnosis. Dude, that is awesome. That's life-changing. Like for me to help that's not that PRs, there's nothing wrong with helping people get PRs on the platform because that's amazing for them too. But when you do stuff like that, it's just so much more impactful.
Dave Tate here from elitefts to talk to you about bands. We've been a supplier of bands for almost 2 decades now. So I've known my way around the band landscape. When I'm talking about bands, I'm talking about floss bands, long bands, short bands, bands you can use for resistance training, mobility training, body weight training, and flossing. One of our most popular bands, or actually our most popular bands, are the long bands. The long bands are typically used the most with squats, bench presses. Our floss bands are bands that you wrap around the joint to be able to help with mobility, circulation. And the short bands are designed for shorter range movements, bench press, deadlifts, and a lot of times people will use them with resistance machines to help accommodate the strength resistance curve. Head over to elitefts.com and look for bands in the toolbar or blowout menu. So the question for both you is, and it's the paradigm that comes up over and over again, is when you're speaking about the metabolic health, which you help a lot of people with, and you're talking about the demographic that puts training as one of their top priorities. So then age comes into play, and it seems to be around that 30, 35. It really kind of depends when they start too.
Right.
Because the joint issues are going to start sooner if they started younger, And the question then becomes, if you would have known all this stuff when you were younger, would you have been able to perform better, right? And that's none of us can do this. We can only kind of speculate. Yeah. And because then there's the other side of that, which is you learn a lot by doing that, right? All that other stupid shit. And I like to kind of frame it as with a lot of, because I still speak to a lot of these guys now, is though you think that you're all in, and you are all in on all the things that you conveniently want to be all in on, but you're not all in on the things that you really need to be able to perform at your best. But I don't know if you're, say, 20, 25, 22 to 28, if it really even fucking matters. You know what I'm saying? If they eat better, if they sleep better, we have too many case examples to show that's bullshit.
Right.
So it's,
yeah.
Well, I would argue, because if you look at what lifters right now in the IPF are doing, and you look at what people are doing without being enhanced compared to people who are just willy-nilly being enhanced and relying on that kind of stuff, it's pretty comparable. If not, some of those people that are probably a little bit more dialed in with their health might be doing a little better than the people who are saying, whatever, I'm just going to take whatever I can find and, enhance my performance that way. So, I mean, there's something to be said about that. Not that IPF, I want to make this
well, clear. I see the same thing with
not drug free, it's drug tested. But
Well, I see the same thing in the ones that aren't drug tested. If you look at across the whole of the top competitors in all strength sports, they're definitely eating better. They're paying more attention to all these things than any previous generations, for sure.
Yeah, and those records are all getting beat.
And I think it's the advent too of social media. I mean, even when we were coming up, I was reading forums, right? I was on websites and blogs, and now you just have so much information readily available that wasn't. And so, I mean, it's what, when I started strongman, if you were a 105K strongman and you could deadlift 600 pounds, you were like, whoa. Now it's like, if you can't get close to 800 as a 105K open, why show up? Why bother? What are you doing? You know, I remember the very first open strongman competition I did, log press was 240 pounds. That is, I've done that for like 20 odd reps or more. And I remember people were struggling with it, and the bar has raised so much, you know, with information and training modalities and just people having access to stuff more now than they ever have before. To answer your question though,
I think the genetic pool has increased too, because the sports are growing like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't change anything. I made so many mistakes, you know, like him. Strongman was my idol. I mean, I almost lost my marriage over it. Like, I was not a good husband and father. When I was all in. I was obsessed with strongman. It was my whole world. And frankly, if you want to be the best, you have to be, period. But I made, in my opinion, wrong choices. At the same time, I also wouldn't be where I am without them. So it's so hard to look back and be like, would I change things? I don't know. I would say from a training perspective, I have a laundry list of injuries, and thank God I'm pain-free now and I can train around them. But I mean, I have a long list of injuries that were probably ego-driven, poor training, just going hard in the paint all the time. So, you know, I have coaches and I wouldn't listen to them. If they're like, hey, do 5 sets of 5 at RPE, whatever, like it's the heaviest set of 5 I can possibly bust out. And then my assistant's work, I would just half-ass it. These lateral raises are stupid. These curls are dumb. Like, I'm just kind of going through the motions, but on all the events, I'm going hard in the paint. I think that led to a lot of injuries. So if I could go back practically, I would probably leave a rep or 2 in the tank in training on the heavy open chain compound movements. And I probably would have gone harder in the paint on the accessories and the mobility and the recovery, all the stuff that I pushed to the side that says, you know, wasn't important. Now I realize, as I've gotten older, I'm like, that was super important. And I probably could have extended my runway. Like, I can't overhead press anymore. Now, thankfully, I don't have any pain, but I have a torn labrum, infraspinatus issues, bone spur, arthritis. I can bench pretty heavy still, but I can't overhead press. I mean, my mobility is like, that's all I got, you know, and that was probably preventable. Tore this hamstring, torn both pecs, bicep, 3 herniated discs in my low back. I mean, the laundry list is pretty ugly. And a lot of it was just due to, you know, ego lifting. And so I would change some of that stuff, I think.
Well, I wonder if with the all-in thing, because I've always kind of been fascinated with that, because I was that, and there's always price. There's always a price. There's cost benefit to everything. And so there was a lot of cost, you know, there was a lot of benefit as well. And, but when you're in that mental state and you're kind of out of that, and you can look back on it and think, oh, fuck, you know, yeah, I was all in on that. Then when the next thing comes, it could be business, it could be whatever it's going to be. Then you look at that and you think, well, if I really want to grow this, I need to be all in. But then the other side of you is like, you know, wait a fucking minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Right. And this fucks with my head, by the way.
Yes.
Right. Because it's like, maybe this is why we're not growing the way I want to grow, because I'm not good. And like, well, yeah, I kind of learned a lot when I did that the last time. But I think that anybody that's in their, you know, in their 20s needs to do that with something.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Just so, because it's that all in type of thing. It's more than you needed to be at the level that you were. You could have done less right and been at a higher level because you would have had better runway. I totally agree with that. That's one of my biggest things about people using steroids too soon, is what they don't realize is that if they start 3 years earlier than what they should, that's 3 years off the back end.
Right.
When they're there. So when you're at your best, you could add 3 more years to when you were at your best. Because here's the thing with strength sports, and you just kind of were a testament to this. Not every meet is PRs. You know, if you're a powerlifter and you do 6 meets, maybe 2 of them, you can walk away with like, yeah, fuck yeah. You know, that was good. I mean, maybe some 3. Yeah. Nobody, like every single time. It doesn't work that way.
But
So
you want it to. You want it to.
well, you think it
Yeah.
will. You want it to, and you're only competing twice a year, right? So now, if that's 6 meets, that's 3 years. What if you could add 3 more years, right? There's out of the 6 meets, yeah, you're going to fuck up 4 of them. But 2 of them could have maybe been 5, 10, 15% over what your all-time best was, right? Because even when you compete and you go 9 for 9, there's always a little bit you left. Nobody displays their true potential on, well, maybe once in a lifetime.
I call that the unicorn performance.
Yeah, the unicorn performance. I mean, nobody really does that. I always tell somebody, if you want to total 2,000, you probably need to be strong enough to do 2150. Shit's going to happen, right? Which means your training's one thing, but then the competition is your ability to display what you've built, right? And then that gets fucked up in these strength sports because you're peaking, you're getting fucked up, and all this other stuff. So the whole game is who can come in the healthiest, right, to be able to display their strength to the highest capacity. And a lot of times the person that does that isn't the strongest.
Right.
Because the strongest is too fucked up, right? Especially when you get to your genetic limit, potential, whatever it is. So it's, I guess the question where I'm going at with this is, do you think it's necessary for kids, right? We're old now, so I'm old, so I can say fucking kids when they're 20, need to have that somewhere, because then they have an anchor of this is too much, for one thing, right? Because now I could argue your faith should be that there should be different one things, to be able to be that thing. But there's an anchor to be able to say, okay, this is too close. If they're love cars and they're working on, like, you're working on cars fucking 20 hours a day, you're not sleeping. There's always something, right? And then it provides an anchor there for that. But I don't know how you provide that anchor without doing it. Because even with the best mentors, I know when I was being mentored coming up, it's like, shut the fuck up, old man. You don't realize, now that I look back, the people who were mentoring me, and I look at what their achievements were, and for real, I mean, yeah, I knew they were all-time world record holder, IPF world champion, all this other kind of, I didn't really give a fuck,
Right.
Where now you look back and like, holy fuck, man.
Yes. Yeah.
I think like when if I get a lifter and I have a conversation on an intake, I'm like, are you trying to do this as a hobby? Are you trying to do this for a long time? Like, is this something you really enjoy to do? Or is this something that you're trying to be the best at? Like, right. It's either a sprint or a marathon. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can sprint it, which that's going to be your all in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can take that approach. It's going to be a lot different than the person who wants to be the marathon.
Mm-hmm.
If you really enjoy it, it's just like something you do for fun. You want to do it for a long time. It's going to look a lot different than the person who's going to say, hey, no, I'm trying to break world records. Like,
but,
it's a little different.
Right. But there's, I was one of those people. I know those people. I still know people like that. They'll have a date, right? It's like, I'm going to just do this because they know it's not good, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to do this shit, but in like 2028, fucking done, right? And then 2027, they had like the best meet ever, and like, okay, 2029, right? So they have the sprint mentality, but it ends up being an 880. Right. So they're approaching it like it's going to be 100. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it ends up being an 880, running the same speed that they had run a 40 the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why they get so fucked up.
I think I told my wife I was retiring. I can't tell you how many times. I think my first retirement was 2021. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously didn't happen.
That didn't work.
That didn't work. Yeah.
No, I knew it for me was the cutoff when I got my third herniated disc. And I immediately called my coach who coached me for my first bodybuilding, and I like paid him immediately for like the year. And I was like, I have to commit to a show and pay you dollars because I know me and I'm not going to take this rehab seriously. And I'm going to be 4 weeks in the gym trying to max stone loads. Like, that's what's going to happen. So for me, it was a hard out. And I thought that I would struggle with the whole identity thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sport of strongman, but I haven't missed it a day of my life. I was at the gym not terribly long ago, and there were some guys doing some frame carries, and they asked me like, hey, can you show us, what we're doing here, whatever? And I grab the frame and I show them how to set up, how to set their grip and, stagger their stance and all of that and take off and do a run. And then we're like, do you miss it? Do you ever want to get back into it? I was like, no, not even a little bit. I like how I feel. I feel really, really good right now.
Yeah.
And then the last time I ego lifted last year, I tore my medial delt on a circus dumbbell. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm done.
You just need to get in better shape to be able to ego lift.
Exactly.
You said something, the identity though,
Yeah,
right? I think like that's a huge part of it when you identify with that and like being able to let that go, finding something. And you even said like you had to commit to something else because you're just locked into it.
I'm competitive. Like I joke all the time. If I somehow lost the use of my limbs, then I would figure out a way to become a competitive chess player. I like to just have a goal that I'm working towards. So that's why I did the marathon and the ultra this last year. Someone was like, oh, bodybuilders can't run marathons. I was like, watch me. And it sucked. And I'm thankful that I did it. And I'm like, you can do it. Like, I like to chase something.
Yeah.
And so now as I've gotten older, the things I chase are different and I've gotten better at prioritizing. I don't think there's a single framework or formula that you can give to anybody because all their life circumstances are different.
Yeah.
I did have an honest conversation with the guy the other day who's like, hey, I want to be a bodybuilding pro. And I'm like, well, you have a 2-year-old, your wife is pregnant. I'm like, I just consider if you want to do this, like there's going to be some serious sacrifices. This is not a hobbyist thing that you're about to embark on if you truly want to go there. So you have to count that cost and figure it out. So that's up to the individual.
But they can look at that as, I know these states very well. I had big identity problems trying to go through all this, but they can look at that and you can always find, like you can say that and they can look and say, okay, he's a pro, he's got kids, he's a pro, there's always people, to be able to always, right?
1,000%. I remember listening to guys on podcasts like this and others, and older guys who blasted loads of gear and they're like warning the younger guys not to do it. I'm like, but you're a world champ.
The interesting thing now, though, is that if you, in the bodybuilding community, they're a little bit more vocal because they stick around, afterwards, that you can listen to competitors who competed 20 years ago at the highest level and listen to them on podcasts now, speaking about their mindset then, right? And actually come out and say, I don't know if I ever was happy. I was just so locked in, with that to where they're in the right frame of mind for what they're doing at that time, but then look back. So it's very interesting because you can also find that same person that's saying, I don't know if I was happy at all during that time on interviews 20 years ago, 15 years ago, talking about how this is the greatest time of their life. You know what I'm saying? So our perspective, changes a little bit.
Absolutely. I would echo that. I mean, I was having a blast in my strongman days. I was obsessed. I was having fun setting PRs. I was not as smart as you guys. I did not do 2 competitions a year. I did on average 5, which is another reason
that's
that
why
I
you got all the injuries.
Right. That's another reason why I accelerated myself into retirement. I mean, I was competing, I think over my strongman career, I competed a little over 40 times, which is frankly dumb. I got a little bit better obviously, when I turned pro, you can't. There's limited opportunities. But, and I always encourage guys too, as they're trying to get good at something, like, hey, you have to be willing to suck. Like I lost way more than I ever won, way more. But I won many times because I just kept showing up, kept trying and kept getting better. And, the year I won America's Strongest Man, I actually had no intention of winning. I walked into that competition knowing I had the best prep of my life and I had a very good chance at podiuming. And that's all I wanted to do. I'm like, man, I just want to get like top 3. I think I can do this. And it was a 2-day competition. At the end of day 1, I was in the lead by like 4 points. So that was pressure. That was really pressure. I'm like, oh no, I could do this thing. Like, don't screw it up. And I don't know if you know Nicholas Camby.
Yeah.
Camby dude. Love that guy. If he and I compete, 100 times against each other, I'm going to win 2 and he's going to beat me 98 times.
But there's that 2.
But there's that 2. and he came second place that year to me. And ironically, I just had the best prep of my life and he just had things go wrong like they do sometimes on competition days. He's an excellent circus dumbbell presser and I am hot trash. And I knew with strongman, if you want to be a pro, there's always like, 5 different events. You can't be bad at anything. You need to be excellent at like 2 to 3 things. You just need to be untouchable. Those are your events, and you're always getting like top 1 or 2. And then everything else, just be middle of the road and show up and be consistent. And I was really worried because it was a 220 circus dumbbell, and I was not a good presser of circus dumbbell. I was a great overhead presser, but the dumbbell's not a press. That's like a whole different animal. And I did okay. I came mid-pack, and he was supposed to dominate that event and did not. And that's what pulled him way back. Mm-hmm. And so stars aligned that day. But he beats me, 98 times out of 100. But I just kept showing up, and the stars aligned for that day,
Well, with the identity or the psychology of this, what I've kind of come to realize is when you're in that state, say when I was in that state and I'm all in and that's all I'm kind of doing, let's just pretend there's 2 personalities, right? There's, Zippy, who, fucking Louis termed, and then Dave, right? Well, the one personality is just taken 95%, of all that space for 20 some years, right? Because that's who that is. Then Dave's just sitting over here, like when you're not training, like what the fuck am I supposed to do? I guess I'll study, I'll do something, you know what I'm saying? But then when that comes to abrupt stop, I didn't stop because I wanted to stop. I'm glad it happened. Right. It was injury. I couldn't squat anymore. I couldn't hold a bar. So you're kind of fucked. You can't put a safety squat bar in me. Thank God. And that was the main variable, but there was a business and there's kids. Those were the excuses. The main thing was I couldn't do that. But instead of admitting that, it's like, well, I got this other stuff I got to kind of focus on. But then Dave had to take up 95%.
Staying hydrated is huge for training and performance. And this is why today's episode is brought to you by Element. Element gives you exactly what your body needs: 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, 0 sugar, and no junk. Personally, I like to mix half a pack with my morning oatmeal. I'll use any of the chocolate flavors. I drink it with all my training sessions, watermelon being my favorite. Some other reasons why I use it is stable energy with no crash. It fights off fatigue and cramps, improves mental focus and clarity, helps regulate stress, and supports deeper sleep. And there's no sugar and garbage. Here's the best part. You can try it totally risk-free. Right now, Element is offering a free 8-count sample pack of its most popular flavors. With each purchase, you get 2 of each of these 4 fan favorites, perfect for finding your own favorite or sharing with a friend. Don't like it? Give it to a salty friend, and Element will give you your money back. Head over to www.drinklmnt.com/table talk.
And I didn't know how to do that, right? Because the other guy was taking up 95%. So I think that's that weird dichotomy that a lot of people go through. And it's not only that, you don't want to be around it, right? So it's like, fuck, I'm not going to, but it's my company. I got fucking sponsored lifters, so there was a time where I wouldn't go to any meets or anything like that, but I still had these sponsors. You're still around that whole thing.
Sure.
And many, many years later, I realized both were always there. They weren't sharing space. And how much better would I have been if they would have been joined?
Yep.
Right? Because then I would have experienced greater happiness. I'm not going to say I wasn't happy, right?
Sure.
But then that whole experience, I wouldn't look back on and say, I should, because then Dave would have experienced it, not the other, right? Because that one thing is an idol. Right. So that's kind of where I'm going, because that one thing's the idol, instead of having, say, me being the idol, which is still wrong, but something bigger, you should be the idol from that framework. And I think that's where because I speak to a lot of lifters that kind of go through this, it's like, fuck, they don't know what to do. Right. And a lot of them, because there's no B plan, dumbest shit ever, burn the boats, no B plan. Right. So they're 30, they don't have any fucking skills other than squat, bench, or deadlift. They don't, that's all they fucking know. And they don't even know that well.
They're good at it, but they're good at it.
They're good at it, right? Because they figured it out for themselves. You know,
Yeah.
they don't know how to figure it out for other people.
Right.
They don't understand the nuance behind all that. Then like, fuck, I'm 30. You know, it's like, yeah, maybe you should have fucking studied shit. You know, you should have had a B plan, because nobody does this forever. And the biggest example I can use of this, and I want you guys to elaborate on this, because this one took me the longest. This one probably took me until 6 years ago, that body weight's body weight, right? Especially when you're dealing with heart issues and all these other kind of issues. And I'd have doctors, cardiologists, everybody saying you shouldn't be 280 pounds. You should be like 180. I'm like, fuck you. And it's, it's fuck your BMI and all this other kind of shit, right? Then you get older and you start having issues, and it's like, holy fuck, now that I'm 230, versus 270, 280, just that alone.
Huge.
That alone. And yes, I've downsized a lot. That alone, the metabolic health, the blood work, the mobility, the joint pain, all that other shit. And I still don't eat the greatest, right? So I could say, yes, my food's still causing some inflammation, but the fact that I weigh less is less stress on the system, which is it's less, you're moving less weight around, right? That was the hardest one. As I got older, I'm not telling younger people because they can get away with it, because at some point you're not going to be able to, but I'll still run into people that are in their 40s, mid 40s, and even 50s, like, oh, fuck yeah, it's 280. I'm fucking, 15% or whatever it's going to be. I'm still relatively lean. Yeah, but it's still.
Yes.
Yeah. So elaborate.
Yeah. So body weight is body weight. The heart doesn't know the difference, right? It's still got to pump blood through everything. So that, for me personally, the downsizing is difficult. It's something I've been like actively doing. Like I told you about how I had to drop a weight class.
Wait till you have a heart attack.
Maybe it'll happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, just downsizing in general, because, you start to see the numbers go down. Right. And then it's like, oh, like I've always been a 500-pound bencher. Last competition, granted, I was coming back from surgery less than a year, but it was 463 and it was hard. And I'm like, ooh, it was the lightest I ever weighed in. I weighed in at 216. And then even now I still hop on the scale. I'm like, ooh, do I need to go like force feed a little bit? The scale says like 214. Should I be eating more? Like that identity to weigh a certain amount to hold strength. I still struggle with that a little bit.
I do too.
Yeah, to hold a certain weight, because I know I'm going to be weight. If I get down to, 200 pounds, even if I lose another 15 pounds, I'm going to be a lot healthier.
That never goes away, man. I'm 58.
Yeah.
And I still think, probably twice a fucking day, I still think, you know what? I could pull my training together, start blasting some shit, throw in some growth hormone, and put 30 pounds back on.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The only thing that stops me from doing it is I know there's no way I'm going to be consistent with the drugs. Right, that's the food's fine, all the other shit's fine, but when you've been sticking yourself for 40 fucking years, I can't remember to take my fucking TRT right. Like, so I think I'm going to take these peptides every day and all this other shit every day. There's no chance in hell I can't remember to take my test more than once a fucking 3 weeks. And it's on my calendar. The notifications all over the place. Like, fuck it, I'll just do it tomorrow. Right? Then tomorrow comes like, you know what, I'll do it tonight. Tonight, I'm good. It's 3 weeks now. It's on my calendar tonight. It's like, I'll do it when I get home. I feel guarantee I'm going to say, nope, not going to do it. I'm just going to bring it in and have somebody give it to me. That way I don't have to, or I'll have my wife give it to me. I just do it tomorrow. And this shit would just fucking continue. And still I feel like shit.
Yeah, I was going to say, you start feeling a little bit off and you're like, what's going on here?
Why am I fucking crying during commercials?
Right.
I'm fucking depressed. Oh.
You're estradiol.
Yeah, I hit 3 cc's, and it's dumb as shit you should do, by the way. So it still stays in there. So I don't even know where I was going with all this shit, but it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
You just become better. What I'm hoping is I just get to a point where it's just like a fucking lost cause. It's like, oh, there's no way I'm coming back from this shit.
What I try to do now that's helpful, I think things are always going to change. Like, yeah, I'm all in on my business now, and that could easily be an idol, and I have to put limits. And so what I try to do is kind of like imagine a pie chart in my head of priorities, and like, okay, well, if I'm going to allocate 70% to my business, that's all it gets. So I'm going to be 100% in on that 70%. And then this bucket over here, and then this bucket over here. And those things change. I mean, last year I traveled a ton, and I'm like, okay, I did my best last year to say, okay, how many things can I bring my wife and kids on? And, you know, traveling for competitions and things like that, because I still had a lot of athletes last year. I would bring them, we would get an Airbnb, try to do something fun in town. I go handle the meet. My wife's hanging out with the kids. I'm like, let's bring the family along with this. My kids are getting older now. So now my son, he's 9, my youngest, and my daughter's 13 next month. They come to the gym with me all the time. And so now I'm like, okay, cool. This is not me going to the gym and training is no longer taking time away from the family. I'm spending time with my kids. I'm teaching them. So that's an advantage of them getting older. But I just try to think of my life in stages too, because there's going to be times and seasons of hard grind in the business where I just have to work long hours, and this is the priority. But I've gotten better at being intentional with my family. So we sit down every Sunday and kind of go over the family calendar of who needs to be where and do what. Cannot wait till my daughter can get her driver's license and I'll make her run all the errands. And so we just sit down, and so I know I'm coming out here. I'm at an event next week. The weekend after that, I'm kind of at a retreat type thing for several days for the business, heads down, working hard. So I've circled dates on the calendar. My wife knows we're going on a date at this time. My son knows, my son with autism, he loves the Lego store, that he gets a day with daddy and we're going to go to the Lego store and go get a treat somewhere. My son knows he's coming to the gym with me. So like in the midst of my busyness, I'm just trying to plot and give my family firm times that they know I'm all in there. And so I just try to think in like buckets, if you will, and be like, okay, I'm going to be all in for this percentage of time that I have. It's not always perfect, but at least it's a framework that helps me kind of think through it and say, hey,
yeah, one of the things that I figured out, still haven't mastered it because nobody does, is because business takes a lot of time, especially when it's yours, and it's always going to take a lot of time, right? So, but it also takes more bandwidth than time. So It may be 70 hours a week working, but it's every minute of every day.
Correct.
From that. And that's just what it is. You know, anybody that says differently is fucking lying or selling a mentorship class. It's just bullshit. But that's what it is. And for most of us, we're self-employed. We're not entrepreneurs. I don't like the word entrepreneurs. Yeah. You know, self-employed is essentially what you're doing. And but the thing that I try to help people with on this is when things are not good, which is the majority of the time, right? It's ebbs and flows, but the majority of the time, if anybody's being honest, it's not good. And you put everything, that's when you need to put guardrails on. Like, that's where you got to have, you know, time just to fucking Netflix and chill or whatever it's going to be. There needs to be guardrails, because what typically happens is that's the time that people are going to double, triple, quadruple down, because things are not good. It's like, fuck, I need to get this back to where it's, then when it's good, they're like, finally, I can chill. And it's, you need to reverse that a little bit to where put the guardrails there, because when things are good, that's momentum. That's when you double down, because shit's working. Right.
You're spot on. Everything you just said, I have experienced. When I think things are not going great, I tend to isolate, and I'm just behind the laptop. I'm just grinding for hours and hours and hours a day. I kind of like get a little bit insular, and yeah, you're spot on. You have to reverse that.
You know what's fucked up? Think about this for a minute, because we've all spent so many years training. Seriously, when things are going really, really bad, training wise, you're hurt, you're injured, you want to go to the
gym more.
No, you don't. You work around it. You find ways around it.
Yes.
You're not benching with a torn pec. You're finding other ways to get around that torn pec, but you're not doing that torn pec. All this shit we fucking learned, training. But then when it comes to apply it someplace else, we're ass backwards on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we're so much of it does carry over.
Yeah, I think sometimes too with those things, it's you're working around, but you're trying to. Sometimes it's you almost try to overdo the PT a little bit. You're trying to do a little bit. You still got that mindset of like you're trying to fix it.
100%
when it's broken, but you are working around, which they're not going directly at it. And I think with business, sometimes when it's not, you kind of shift, instead of going around, you're going at it.
But that's an athlete's mentality. I mean, my wife was pissed at me because there's a video on an elite safety bar the day after bicep surgery.
Oh yeah.
I'm in a sling and I've got 700 pounds on the safety squat bar. I'm like, I don't need that arm. I'm good. My wife was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't need that arm. I'm fine.
But then you're
pulling.
my point is that's looking at it at the micro level.
Right.
Look at it at the macro level, right? How much weight were you using compared to how much weight would you use otherwise? Your total workload is going to be way less when you're
Right.
hurt, because you can't do the main movement. You're doing other things, which is going to be with lighter weight. So if we took weight times reps times load,
Right.
that workload is going to be down when you're injured, hurt,
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah, I tore my bicep last March, and I tore it playing basketball. I went back to sports, and go figure, then I get hurt again.
Yeah.
So it wasn't lifting or anything, but it was such a blessing, you know, when I did that, because it did make me slow down. I had to lower the load. I had to like get into the high rep work, just strengthen tendons like in my legs, and everything started feeling a little bit better while I was recovering from that, because it took all the pressure off. To like I couldn't bench heavy, couldn't do a lot, couldn't squat heavy. So I can see that. Yeah.
Well, sometimes a lot of training, or even in life, the hardest adversity you're going through at the time sucks, and it's really, really bad, but you don't understand until maybe it can sometimes be 20 years later that this was actually a gift. And in the inverse, times when things are great, you can find out 10, 15 years later, man, that was not good.
Yeah, 100%. That's a mindset thing. I'm always a pretty optimistic person. So whenever I see things going badly, I'm like, there's an opportunity here. And so I think I'm just that way as a personality, but I try to help my clients see that when they get injured. That book, The Gift of Injury, is really helpful. But I'm like, all right, cool. This is not what I've preferred. I don't like this injury, but there's a positive here. So now I can go over and allocate time and resources to this other thing that I've been neglecting. And that's going to carry over here because I haven't been focusing on that.
Where do you think that comes from?
That's hard. I don't know if that's innate. I don't know if that can be taught. That's just how I see things. I mean, even when I look at data, like I'll help some up and coming fitness coaches. I'm like, hey, you realize personal trainers and fitness coaches, the fail rate is like 95%. They'll start and 95% quit within a year. And for me, like that's incredibly discouraging for some people who have an aspiration to do that. For me, I go, sick. You mean all I have to do is grind for a year and I'm in the top 5%? Like, and I think that's just a mindset. I don't know if that
Isn't that every field though?
Yes. I don't know. I mean, my dad was always that way. He always pushed me to do hard things. It was like, hey man, the worst thing that can happen, you can fall flat on your face, just get back up and now you've learned. And so I don't know. I'm thankful for that. I remember him making me do hard things as a kid. He made me sing a solo in church one time when I was 7 and I was crying because I didn't want to get up in front of people. And he's like, you're doing this. I remember being at the amusement park. I wanted to go on this ride. I didn't realize the roller coaster went upside down. I was like, I am not getting on that thing. He's like, we are not leaving this park until you get on there. And I got on. And so I have all these experiences through my life. And now I'm at the place where, I don't know, I don't really get scared of a lot of things. If someone said, hey, you have to be in a stadium tomorrow speaking to 100,000 people on metabolic health, I'm like, sick, let's go. Like, I'm not scared of it. But so I think it's part of how you're raised. But it's also my personality where I don't know, I'm like, oh, this bad thing happened. There's got to be something good around the corner. And I think you can learn part of that, but I think some of that's just personality.
I'll call a lot of this like reframing.
Yes.
Right. And it's self-talk where when even some of the guests that are on the podcast, they'll say certain things in absolutes. Chris, the doctor I had on Wednesday, kept saying that he was an introvert. And I'm like, I had to correct him at some point and say, you have introverted tendencies. You're sitting here speaking to me on a podcast. That's not introverted.
Right.
Right. And so it's what you focus on. Right. And every lifter I know is going to say, oh yeah, I'm an introvert. Like, yeah, I think we all are, but we're all extroverts too. Which one are you going to reframe? With that situation, and that comes back to that self-talk,
yes,
plays into all that. And it's, I'm always interested in where it comes from, especially, my kids are older now, but when you're a parent, you're like, I can't fucking help when I tried to teach it. It's like,
right.
Like where does this really come from? Athletic ability is the same way. Like, I'm intrigued that you're this, aerobic athlete most of your life, and then you're exceeding in an anaerobic sport. Like, that doesn't make calculated sense unless you were in the wrong fucking sport. You know what I'm saying? Which the more exposure, that's why I like to ask a lot of the lifters, like, what did you do when you were a kid? I didn't play sports. And like, what did you do? Like, were you jumping around, because there's those developmental phases, you know, where you can develop visual acuity and explosiveness and endurance. And if you kind of miss them, you're kind of fucked. You know, you can get some of it back, but it's never going to be at the same level that it should be. PE classes used to do this.
Right.
Now they don't. So everybody's just a fucking uncoordinated idiot. But, you know, it's up to the coaches and stuff like that to be able to do that. And you're catching people, you know, you're catching people at a time where you're just trying to maintain those qualities for as long as they can. And that's how I kind of see the longevity space, which is kind of, to me, a shitty word. But
it is.
Because people lose those abilities, you know, you're going to lose muscle mass. We're going to lose all these things as we get older. But what if you can prolong it, you know, just a little bit? And so with the demographics you work with, there's different people coming in now than when you were just working with athletes. With the athletes, you kind of know the background. There was something that made them fucking strong in the first place, right? But now you could get somebody that's coming in that's been inactive for a decade.
Yep.
You know, those are clients that I used to train. Well, what a clusterfuck that is. But so it's, but this is kind of what we started off on a little bit. If I would have had their blood panels, as well as the physical data that I was collecting, their blood panels probably weren't as bad as the intake of the athlete that's coming in that's training super hard. You get what I'm saying? So like half of the equation is kind of already, actually the hardest part to fix is kind of already okay, unless they're being referred from a doctor or whatever it's going to be. You know, it's in a good enough place to be able to start building the other qualities, where the inverse seems to happen if you're dealing with somebody that's a competitive athlete, to where the physical quality, you see what I'm saying?
100%.
It's like, if they could just mash them into one.
Right. Well, that's what we try to do. Well, I want to just really quick jump back. I don't like the word longevity either, even though I'm in that space and we use that term. A couple reasons. One, I mean, we're both Christians. And so I don't think at all, and I tell people this, I can add exactly 0 days to your life. That's not happening. If you're supposed to die at 80, you're going out at 80. Like, that's what's going to go on. I can add life to your days, which is very different. So if you're supposed to die at 80, you're dying at 80, but you could spend the last 20 years bedridden, unable to move due to complications from diabetes, fatty liver disease, whatever else that is completely preventable. And, you know, you could manage had you made different choices. And I'm always telling people as well, because I get it. I kind of have a marketing problem, and I've shifted now my content. But one of the issues is, like, I love working with older people, little old ladies who just simply want to grab an 8-pound gallon of milk and rotate and put it in their cart without pain. Like, I love that. But the bald jack tatted guy who's, you know, benching 500 pounds is kind of not where they're going to go. So I always tell people, hey, a big bench press and abs and a super lean physique, that's a hobby for me. I enjoy that. Those are things that I enjoy. But my definition of fitness is very different. Fitness is the capability to carry out your duties and responsibilities well, so that you can age with dignity and in your later years be a blessing to your family and not a burden. And that is accessible to everybody. And that's my goal for my clients now. Right? You want to pursue that, you know, sport, let's do it. Let's have some fun. You want to get stronger, let's have some fun. My goal is to add life to people's days. That's my aim, if that makes sense.
We live in some crazy times right now where there's not a day that I don't go on the internet and I see some BS crap about this research study or this research study. This isn't new. I've been in this industry for 4 decades. One thing that's helped me is 8 years ago, the Mass Research Review started and became a godsend. The Mass Research team are professional researchers that are also meatheads. So they've done this great job of being able to take all these topics and put them into this research review that I get every month. I'm excited to partner with them. I spoke with Eric Helms about this on the podcast. It's simple, it's easy. They're offering a 20% discount to all podcast listeners. The code is elitefts20. When you join, you get the research review, which is going to be sent to you every single month. That has 7 to 9 articles in there. The archive, which is 1,500 articles, thousands of videos. Just head over to massresearchreview.com and use the code elitefts20. The link will be in the description.
If we're to step out of the box here a little bit, this is one of the things that I've kind of wondered. And it got mentioned a little bit during the pandemic, but not much. And training can be inflammatory, right? Training can lower your immune system. And so if we step out of the box and we just look at the population as a whole, you know, look at the people who are 80, 85, most of them that are getting around and moving very well are probably not exercising at all.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, like, what's the real point if we're going to induce this onto somebody, which can create the inflammation, the cortisol, throw in more free radicals and all these other things. You get where I'm going?
Sure.
Like it goes completely against everything that we all believe and then preach, but it makes me kind of sit there and think, huh?
Yeah. Well,
I think there's
there's
a balance there too, right? I mean, like obviously when I was competing and, you know, I mean, even when I'm in prep, let's be real, inflammation's through the roof because there's a grind to it. There's an intensity to it. You're when you stare at that bar, I mean, you know what it is. You go into the weight room and you're ready. You're on attack mode. Cortisol's through the roof, like nervous system's getting destroyed. Inflammation's up because, you know, you got to recover from all this heavy lifting. And not to say that a general population person should not experience that sometimes, because you're going to have to you get somebody who's completely inactive. Yeah, we got to put some muscle on. We got to get stronger, but there's a balance to that. It's not as, it doesn't have to be that all in mindset for all into training with that specific goal in mind. I'm going to compete. I'm going to hit this number or that number. So I think if you balance that training, I think you can kind of balance that inflammatory response and get all the positives from it without really being destructive in that sense.
Oh, 100%. It's, you know, muscle is like metabolic armor. Like if you're type 2 diabetic, doctors should prescribe weight training. The more muscle you have, the more glucose you can handle. Like, why are we not weight training? And it doesn't need to be 5 days in the gym like a powerlifter. I mean, I have a tale of two grandfathers. One of them unfortunately passed away, and he was a great man. Not much older, a couple years older than my other grandfather, who is still alive in his upper 80s. And I mean, his 70th birthday, we took him cliff jumping. He was in the Navy. He does train. He and his wife go to the Y 3 days a week, and they do their little circuits. They're not lifting anything heavy. I mean, they're going through the little machine circuit. They're walking the track. They're just moving though. And he putzes around his property, still very independent, really no health issues whatsoever to speak of. And, you know, but he weight trains, white, you know? And so, and here he is in his late 80s. He comes over to my house. He can get down on the floor and wrestle with my kids. That's what I want. I want that. That's what I want for my clients. I just want them to age with dignity and not be, you know, obviously you can't help some of the genetic issues and things like that could arise, but so many people are dying from preventable diseases and they're just not living a good quality of life. I don't want to be a burden on my family in my later years. I want to be on the floor with my grandkids. That's what I want. I can't do that blasting trend. So that had to go goodbye. Right.
So when you're intaking these people, you know, I hear they want to be able to play with their kids and all this other kind of stuff. And I trained the same demographic. And the fact of the matter was they didn't fucking play with their kids anyhow. You know what I'm saying? And even if they got in shape, it's like a catch-all. Like it's
Sure.
marketing buzz, right?
Yeah.
What
it's an aspiration
that they're still probably not even going to do. Right. So it's an aspiration that's out there, but what are they, because you're working with them, right? What are they really looking for?
I think everybody's kind of different, right? I mean, I have people right now that are like, hey, I constantly throw out my back. What are we going to do here? Okay, well, I'm going to get your back stronger. Your posterior chain is weak. We're going to work on core strength. We're going to do all the different things to strengthen that, you know? Or somebody's like, you know, I have a guy, he says, I'm just chasing this physique. I want to look good. And I'm like, okay, you're in your mid 40s. We're not going to look like you did in your 20s, but we can get to the best possible outcome and have you feel good about yourself when you walk into a room, have confidence when you're at the beach with your family, things like that. But everybody's going to be a little bit different. You know, not everybody's going to come and be like, hey, I just want to be on the floor with my grandkids one day. That's not going to be everyone, but everyone can have some sort of target, right? I have another guy. He goes, I want to hit a 315 bench. Awesome. Let's do a block. You've never done it before. You're 45 years old. Let's have you hit that bench press. Boom. We hit it. Okay, now he's like, I never deadlifted 500. Let's do that. Okay, we're going to do a training program to get you to deadlift 500. And that's what we're in the midst of now. But I think it's just chasing those little carrots for everyone kind of deal. But all of those things, what does that all lead to if you do it the right way? That's going to lead to that longevity and the ability to do stuff later.
And one of the things we do,
keeps it fun.
I coach a lot of executives, and they want to just show up better with, more brain power. You talk about bandwidth. It's true. When you walk into a room, if you are fit and in shape, your body's your business card, you automatically have respect from people. Now it's yours to lose if you treat them poorly. But you have respect. People take you seriously. And so for all of our guys, every single guy in the company is in a giant group chat. And all of them are running different programs. They're at different tiers and different levels of service based on, either their need or what they can afford. But all of my guys are in a group chat, encouraging each other, sharing PRs, asking questions. And we do open office hours on Zoom multiple times throughout the week. So my call, I took it yesterday on the road, Thursdays at noon. First half is open Q&A. And so all these guys are at different stages of life. You've got guys who are executives and business owners to, younger guys, and they're all getting feedback. And in the second half of that call, we do different book studies. So we're going through a book right now on what it looks like to be a man and lead your home well. We're going to do the psychology of money because there's guys in there who have no idea how to balance a checkbook and their dad never taught them. We're going to look at books on fatherhood. So I try to take a holistic approach where I'm like, I want you to get in shape. I want you to be fit. I want you to be confident. Let's get strong. It's super fun. I love doing that. But I want you to walk away from your time with me being a better man, period. And I do coach women too. Actually, most of my continuing ed was in female health because they make up 70% of gut issues and everything else. And they're infinitely more complex. Like if you can coach women, men become almost effortless. But my avatar now is me. I'm a dad, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm grinding hard, and I want to figure out how to balance all of this. I want to be a good dad, but I got to grind in the business, and I also want to look good and be in shape and be fit, and I want to manage my money well and invest and set my kids up for a good future. So my coaching is a little bit more holistic, and everybody is in a different stage of life. I've got some single guys in there who aren't married, of course, but I want them learning from the experiences of some of these older guys who are. Like one of the guys that I coached, he's a CEO of a steel company. And, we realized out of the gate that, he needed to lose a lot of weight, like a lot of weight. He was unhealthy and he's doing great. But his marriage was on the rocks because he was grinding in his business 24/7. He was at the office 14 hours a day, coming home and then working on his laptop. And one of the things I told him, like, hey, you're not allowed to take your laptop home and you have to leave the office by 5 and you're spending time with your wife. Like, this is what I'm holding you accountable to in our check-ins. Like, yeah, you're fat and we're going to lose weight, but you need to show up better. And I love it because his marriage has never been stronger. He's posting pictures, going out with his wife all the time on Instagram and stuff like, and he'll repeatedly text me like, the biggest benefit of this was not the weight loss. It was my relationships and how I show up at work. And so that's the kind of stuff that gives me joy. Like I want to help you hit a PR. I want to help you look great, on the beach with your family. But I want people to be, well, it's like a selfish endeavor too. I want to surround myself with men who just want to be better. So I'm just a facilitator. I'm not a subject matter expert.
Could it be said that the breakdown of all of those things is what led to the obesity in the first place?
Oh, probably. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So I want guys to be better. I want to be better. And I just facilitate the group that does that. And through the means, I view, early on, fitness and being as strong as possible was the end goal. Now it's not. Now it's just the bridge. I get the guys in with physical health goals, but that's just the bridge for me to try and facilitate men being better men.
So what does that look like when you're dealing with different generations? I'm a latchkey kid, right? So sure. I'm Gen X, right? So I have a different outlook on life than a lot of other fucking people, right? Yeah. Because you kind of do it on your fucking own. I'm good with solitude, right? Because it's all we ever fucking did. Just sit around, stare at a fucking wall, listen to albums. And I fucking I was alive I saw 8 tracks come out.
My grandpa had an 8-track player.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's a different perspective. I'm okay, being actually way better being by myself and just, I'm good with that. Like I don't need to fucking doom scroll. I don't need attention, constant attention and all that other kind of stuff. But we start chipping down generations and it's different. I grew up on long form content,
Right.
Right. Except for the fucking commercials on TV. But, HBO had, like, when it first came out, it had 2 movies, one at 5, then another one at 7, then another one at 9, so there's it. It's like, fuck it. I guess we're, get the fuck outside, so it's just all that all the time. But a lot of that can be based upon what generation they're raised in.
Of course.
Right. So, and if you have these groups of these different generations, you could have somebody like me and they're like, kid, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. I think it's great. We get a lot of cross-sectional perspective from people. Like, I'm dealing with a guy right now who's your age, a very successful guy in the Midwest, has multiple businesses, and he was a loner and an introvert, and he has a lot of things that he needs to work on in life. And yesterday he sent me a very long text where he was incredibly vulnerable with some of the struggles and things that he's been dealing with. It took him a long time to get there to where he could open up and share that. And that was huge. Like, that's going to be a big breakthrough for him, making progress in his relationship with his wife and his kids, and how he shows up as a leader.
That's the interesting part that I'm talking about, because if I can't speak for everybody in my generation, right? But it was basically just sit down, shut up,
Yes.
fucking figure it out. It's like a lot, whatever. It's not a big deal. Oh, don't say you're bored. You say you're bored, then you're fucking, baling hay. There's all kinds of shit that you're going to do. And so you suppress, compartmentalize, and that's who you are, right? And where you have a younger generation to where they overexpress, right? So this is what's, I think they can learn from each other.
That's exactly what,
right.
Yeah, you just kind of said it. It's kind of bridging the gap.
Yeah.
Right? So then the younger guys are learning, like, hold on, maybe I don't have to be so sensitive about everything, and I can actually be a man and deal with some things. But then the people that bottle everything up, right? Some of that older generation, that you got to let some of that stuff out.
100%.
Right? 'Cause that's going to have effects on your life later on if you just keep everything in. So I think there is a balance there. You just said it. Everybody can kind of feed off of each other a little bit.
How do you open those doors? Because if I look at a lot of the people that I know in my generation, they're not going to fucking listen to some babbly, fucking 20.
Well, we don't do that.
It's exposure.
Yeah.
It is. It's exposure. That sort of stuff happens more in the one-on-one with me. And our demographic, I mean, most of my clients are between the ages of like 35 and call it 60.
There's still 2 big.
There's a generational gap there for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of that deeper work happens one-on-one. The group context is certainly helpful, but I've witnessed, like yesterday, there was a guy active on the call sharing a lot of valuable information that has not spoken in months. And he's a total your generation, very quiet, very whatever. But he and I have built this relationship of trust over the last year. And he's opened up to me, and he's seeing progress in his relationships. And it's taken a long time. And now he's at a place where he's ready to pour into some of these younger guys. And with the older guys, oftentimes we're talking about the whole, like, hey, lone wolf mentality is not it. Like, you need a tribe, that you need to work through some of these things with. And then, some of you young guys, like, bro, you need to learn to compartmentalize. And sometimes men just need to, we have broad shoulders for a reason. We just need to compartmentalize and get shit done and stop whining about it and do work.
Well, I think it helps. Like, it helps both, because the one that you're speaking about that, opened up on certain things, as soon as he does it, he's not just releasing it off himself, right? He's showing the other ones that what they're dealing with, because I'm just making assumptions on some of the things that he would have said, are going to be way bigger adversities, absolutely, than what the other ones think are adversities, because that's just life.
Well, just due to life experience. He's older. Yeah. He's had marriage issues. He has kids out of the house. These young guys have toddlers. They haven't lived the life yet.
Yes, but a part of that helping him is the fact that he's helping them. He's passing that on, and then he can see, through them that, they're we all learn through adversity, right? I mean, the things that bother you now if you look back to the things that bothered you 20 years ago, like, that's a fucking joke, right? And the things that bother you now, a lot, 10 years from now, you're going to be like, man, you were a puss, right? 100%. It's just, you got to learn how to kind of lean into that. And some people don't, right? Because, and I almost ended up being a parent like that, where you want to not have the shit happen, to your kids, Right? I want them to not experience all this shit that I experienced, but they got to experience shit. Right? Because it builds the callus to experience the other shit that's going to come, you know, and there's no way if and or about it. There's good and evil for a reason, you know, so it's going to come and they have to be ready, you know, for that. And shit's still going to come that you're not ready for. But I think if you don't have those calluses, it's like you get like a 40-year-old that something that we all would agree is just their fucking shoestring broke and they're devastated for the fun.
I read an article the other day. It talked about how millennial dads are spending like almost an inordinate amount of time with their kids as an overreaction to parents not spending enough time with their kids. But then that becomes actually super detrimental to your kids because they do need to learn to figure stuff out on their own. They don't need to be handheld through every single traumatic situation. Like they'll be okay. And so it is interesting to see how generations sometimes overcorrect other generations. And then, right, there's always second order consequences. And I was just thinking through that the other day and I'm like, well, you know, here we are thousands and thousands of years of human history later. And, you know, we have never figured out the full solution. We just keep learning from doing our best and trying to learn from other generations.
I think the solutions a lot of times presents itself. You know, we have a lot of kids that just had 4 years of complete total bullshit, you know, that they're watching happen thinking this is complete fucking bullshit. And so Gen Z's got a different outlook, than the generations that came before. Why? Because this big global thing happened so I think there are corrections through nature.
Absolutely.
That it's like, hey, this is getting too fucked up. Boom, throw this out there, right? So it's globalist or whatever. It's whatever.
Course correct.
It's not fucking them. You know, it's somebody trying to course correct because this is all going the wrong way. And then you can start to see, the difference in the generations coming through.
100%. But yeah, just to underscore your point, these guys, when they finally open up, these are conversations that are happening privately with me and them over the span of sometimes years, sometimes as short as months. And then they get more comfortable in that sort of group setting. So I'm talking with the younger guys like, hey, you need to toughen up and sack up. Like, this is not actually that hard. And you just need to go do this thing. And then to the other guys, I'm like, hey, like you need help here. Like, and I'm here to support you and help. And then we build that trust relationship and then they mesh together. So
now, would that happen if faith was not part of your message?
I don't think it could, because it's so much part of my identity. I mean, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't think so. And I mean, not everybody that I work with shares my faith.
They don't, but if you don't, if you believe what you believe, your faith is your faith, and the answer is no, it can't happen without it.
Right.
Well, where's morality come from? Right. So you have the morality, and then you have the values. Where's that come from?
Right. So I fundamentally believe that, obviously I base my faith in Jesus and the Bible. Right. And so that's where I draw my morality from. And I think, people, if you have to source it somewhere. And this is the question I always get back to people from. It can't just come out of thin air. Morality can't just simply change with culture. You can't just say, well, the cultural consensus currently is this thing, so this is right because our culture all agrees this is right. Well, 200 years ago, we all agreed slavery was cool. So clearly we can't go off of culture. So where do you point it to? Well, I point it here. And people say, well, that's circular reasoning. How can you know that this is true? Well, listen, examine all the worldviews out there. My degree is not in fitness or exercise science. And I'm not saying this to say that like I'm an expert. My degree is in theology with a minor in Greek. And I've studied comparative religions. And I ask myself, at some point, everybody in the world has laid in bed at night and they have asked, who am I? Why am I here? Why is this world broken? Can it be fixed? Is there a solution? And what part do I play in that? Like, everybody has wondered those things. And as I examine it and I look at the Christian worldview, I go, this is the only one that most fully answers all those questions. And that is not to say, I'm not sitting here saying I have all the answers and that everything in the Bible makes complete sense to me. It sure doesn't. There's some things that are super confusing. But
you think?
Yeah. Trust me. I'm like, look, I took courses in Hebrew and I was a minor in Greek, and there are still some things where I'm like, sure don't know how to square that. Not sure what that means. But one of the core tenets and doctrines of Christian faith is what's called the perspicuity of Scripture. In other words, that it's clear and that its essential message really can't be misunderstood, which is that God created the world. It's broken. And we are all self-serving and bent in on ourselves. And you can see this through children. You don't have to teach a child to be mean at all. You have to teach them to share, to be kind, to be polite. Like their default nature is bent in on themselves. And so we all know that fundamentally we are broken. And I don't believe that the solution is inside ourselves. I believe it is outside ourselves. We need somebody to save us. And that is the message of the gospel, that Jesus came and he lived the life that we should have lived and could not live. And then on the cross, God looks at Jesus and punishes him for the life that I lived. And there's this glorious exchange where God treats me like I live Jesus' perfect life. That's what's unfair. I don't deserve that. That is completely unmerited favor. That is grace and mercy extended to me. And so then I live my life not in an effort I'm not trying to earn my way into heaven. I never could, ever. I am placing my faith and trust fully in that, right? In Jesus' work on my behalf. That is it. Because trust me, anybody who knows me and knows me well, I am a Christian and a far from perfect one. I have made a lot of mistakes, right? You hear the 10 Commandments. One of the 10 Commandments is don't take the name of the Lord your God in vain. That's not just somebody out there casually throwing out the words Jesus Christ when they stub their toe. What that means, to take somebody's name in vain, is like to take their identity and representation. Well, I'm over here raising my hand saying I'm a Christian. Well, guess what? I did a lot of things in my strongman years that were not very Christian, that I look back on with shame. And I go, I did not represent him well. I took his name in vain. And so I will never, when my life is over.
It's not with shame, but also grace.
Correct.
Right. To where that's one of the key components there, because a lot of that shame is there.
Yeah.
Right. But the grace is not. Right. And then that becomes that inner battle.
Sure.
Where people don't feel like they're good enough.
Right.
Nobody feels like they're good enough to begin with. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give yourself grace, then you can start to realize
that's what you
can
let
but that's
go.
Just it. No, the blessing is saying, the freedom is going, no, you're right. I'm not good enough. Trust me, I'm not. When I die and I stand before God and he says, why should I admit you into heaven? It's solely 100% on Jesus. There's nothing I can do to make up for the things that I have done wrong in my past. Zero chance. So it's freeing to say, no, I'm not good enough. I know that. Jesus is. That's the whole point. And I am broken. So for those people who are out there going like, man, you don't know my life, man. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I committed crimes. I was in prison. I murdered somebody. I raped somebody. I did whatever. You can't out-sin God's grace. He's bigger than you. You're not good enough. You are broken and destroyed. And that's quite literally why you need a savior. And Jesus said, I didn't come here to save the righteous people. He was condemning the Pharisees who thought they had it all together. He's like, I came here, a physician needs a sick person. I came here for sick and broken people. So, Jesus' avatar is me, the broken person. That's his target demographic, is the person who is completely broken, realizes that they are without hope in this world and that they can't possibly ever merit that grace. That's what grace is. It's unmerited favor, not earned favor. So yes, I do want to do good works, and I want to prove my faith, but not in an effort to earn, mainly out of a gratitude and wanting to represent Jesus well, which is why I'm so vocal about my faith. But I'll also raise my hand and say, hey, for the people that, are listening to this podcast that competed with me in strongman, they're going to be like, they're going to know some of the dirty laundry. They're going to know how I acted and behaved. And I wasn't a very present husband and father. And I almost lost my marriage over that. But thankfully we got marriage counseling. God's grace is good. And we're stronger now than we ever have been.
I think too, one of the things is me really finding my faith really helped with that identity crisis with the powerlifting. Because you do kind of put so much worth on what you're doing. You're always looking for this is who I am. I'm this person. I'm that person. So when you put it above all that, right, then things just change. Your outlook changes. Like I said, powerlifting's still fun, but when I give all glory and I know that I'm lifting in his name, everything I'm doing is not for me. All right. That gift was given to me, but I'm going to use it, but it's not mine. It just kind of changes that perspective a little bit. So just that identity thing, just circling back to that. I think when that's like the blanket overall, I think it really helps.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah,
So with
absolutely.
with your business, right? Because I can see this in a way because you're both very vocal about this, right? And it can become a pre-qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to attract the demographic potentially. I don't know. This is where I'm going with the question, right? Because you may also be attracting people that are not, right? But then the people that are not, when they get in that environment, can become.
Yep.
Right. So it's a bigger service than that. So are you seeing both?
Yes, 100%. I don't even like the label, I don't even call us a Christian company. Of course we are, but Martin Luther said this. He's like, if you wanted to be a good Christian shoemaker, you don't do that by making shoes and putting little crosses all over it. You do it by making the best shoes possible. So my mission is I literally want to be the best at what I do with coaching people and getting them healthy. I'm studying lab work. We're partnered now with a direct primary care physician. So I consult with him on stuff all the time because he's trained in things I'm not. I'm trained in things he's not. And I want to deliver the best possible service I can for these people. That's the way. And then obviously if they're around me, they're going to hear it, right? We're going to talk to people about when I'm dealing with eating disorders and alcohol addictions and all of these other things, because in every single check-in, we're asking about sleep and hunger and energy, stress, right? You build a relationship, they're going to open up about their marriages, wayward kids, finances, all this stuff. And of course, my worldview is going to come into that. And so they're going to hear it. But I work with a ton of non-Christians. It is not even remotely a qualifier. I will work with anybody. I mean, I have gays, lesbians, atheists. I love them. I love them all. And you're going to hear my faith, and I'm going to love you, and I'm going to share what I believe to be, true. But it is not a requirement. But yeah, you're going to hear it. Mm-hmm. It's going to come up.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, just I have clients I have competitor clients that are faith, not faith. I mean, we have a Bible study with my group, and I have a group of guys that are under my umbrella, and we do that. And there's people coming in, they're curious, right? I mean, listen, if we're throwing it out there and they're like, hold on, maybe there is something there to it. It's not a pre-qualifier, but maybe they're going to be that's going to be a part of creating better people. Right. Well, people are coming out better. So people are, obviously when they come in, they're going to have questions, they're going to be curious. And so it is an opportunity for us to, spread as well.
Yeah. To reframe my question, it's a perceived pre-qualifier.
Right.
Right. So I wasn't asking if you have something on the intake form. This is how you're a fucking Christian, because that can get real dicey in itself.
Real fast.
Real fast, because a lot of people that are going to admit to that are not what you think they are. Right. Yeah. Fucking pedophiles.
No, thanks.
Yes. But just by having it out there, you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If they're going to contact your company,
correct,
then they know that's a part of it.
Yes.
Which is intriguing to think about, right? Because if they know if it's part of that and they have other choices.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I posted about this on social media.
We're dialing down. I mean, there's a specific group of people that we are looking for. It doesn't mean we're saying no to other people, but I mean, I know one thing that I feel very called to do is, I want to help Christian. You can't be a Christian and be sloppy, overweight, out of shape. I don't believe that. You need to step up that part of your life. So I'm going to call people out and I want to help those people. So is it a pre-qualifier? Do I have it on the intake form? No. But am I trying to get to those people and have them say, you know what? I do want to be better, and I do want to be a better representation of myself and my faith, and I want to be physically representative of that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly who I want to help. Doesn't mean I'm saying no to other people, but that's my, avatar.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, work with anybody, 100%. We're actually launching a program for pastors because, to his point, pastors and firefighters have the worst metabolic health in this country.
Pastors are also broke as fuck.
They are, and they can't afford me. Yeah. And so I've coached a lot of pastors. Every single pastor that I've coached, though, has been, because I was well connected. I went to, like I said, to college and seminary, and I grew up in church. So the people that I'm coaching who are pastors are also institutional leaders of colleges and seminaries, and they have salaries that can afford me. But the average pastor in this country makes between $50,000 and $60,000 a year. they cannot afford me, but they need my help. So we came up with a program, and obviously you don't have a business if you're not profitable. So we have to make money. So we came up with a program. It's called Lead Strong. It actually launches in about 3 weeks. And it's one-to-many group coaching. One of the things we are layering on that, though, like our group coaching model, those folks that come in, that's a much lower price point. They don't get lab work. Everybody else that comes in on our one-to-one model, we have a lab we partner with. We order that. It's baked into the cost. But we are getting the lab work for the pastors. So it'll be a one-to-many model where groups of pastors will be teamed up with myself, Chap, other coaches that we have on the team. My vision long-term for this is to see pastors leading in health and fitness and have groups of people in their churches, in their congregations. And so we've lowered the price a lot. It looks like it will come down on the order of just under like $180 a month for a pastor. Now, my long-term vision is also that churches will layer this into their benefits package for pastors in the way that they might get a housing allowance and say, hey, we're going to give you, call it a stipend of $300 a month, and you have to pay for this service, and you also have to pay for a gym membership with these dollars. It can't go to anything else because we can't make it free, because if somebody doesn't pay, they don't pay attention. They have to have skin in the game, but it also needs to be something they can reasonably afford. One of the guys I coach, you would love this guy. We call him CrossFit Santa. He actually does powerlifting. He's the head of the International Mission Board for the Southern Baptist Convention. And he's like in his 60s and jacked, still powerlifts. Love that guy. And the Southern Baptist Convention actually has height and weight weigh-in requirements before their missionaries go to the field. And the reason is because they have to pay all medical bills out of pocket, because no insurance company on planet Earth is going to insure people going to third world countries, right? So their medical costs are out of this world. Well, they're Southern Baptists, so by conviction and confession, they're not allowed to drink, they're not allowed to smoke. So 2 big metabolic risks out of the way, but they provide nothing for them in terms of weight training or nutrition guidance whatsoever. They're just like, oh, you're this height, you have to make this weight. And he's into the fitness space. He's been in for years, and he's heard horror stories of like women doing these super long water fasts to make weight. And he's like, man, if we could layer in your service and demonstrate that it lowers our cost of out-of-pocket healthcare, he's like, we'll just pay for this for all 5,000 of our missionaries. And I'm like, sweet. So for us, we start to profit on volume. It's like a sneaky high ticket for us. It's like a super low ticket price, but at scale, it makes a lot of good sense. So we've had a couple calls with a bunch of different pastors who are super excited about it because they need it. And, like I said, them and firefighters have the worst metabolic health. And you think about it, they live the same life. Like, what does a firefighter do all day? Exactly nothing until it's a 5-alarm fire. They're rescuing children from burning buildings. They're rolling up on scenes of horrific death and grief. They're working swing shift hours, running off of nicotine, caffeine, and gas station food, and, high stress lives, everything counterintuitive to metabolic health. What does a pastor do all day? A sedentary job behind a desk, might take a lunch meeting out. Maybe it's not horrible, but it's not awesome. Getting a little bit of protein from his home cooked meal, whatever they're cooking at home, but he's really undernourished, and overfed with junk food. He's smiling and shaking hands on Sunday morning, but as he's up there, he knows every single failing marriage, porn addiction, alcohol addiction, the financial issues of the church, everything else. He's trying to shepherd and lead his own family well, while taking the house call at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night for the parishioner that just went into the hospital. So they're living similar lives of super high stress, sedentary lifestyle, poor dietary habits. So they desperately need our help. So that's one of our next big initiatives is to help pastors specifically.
Well, another angle of that from just a pure business side is they have a network.
Absolutely.
100%. So unlike the business owner you may work with that, is working their ass off, that might have a tight network of 4.
Right. No, you're spot on. I mean, there is obviously a business angle here. Like, yes, I tell people this all the time, like when I mentor other folks too, like, share your goals with people. I cannot stand when people are like, oh, I'm not in it for the money. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You can't grow it without.
I'm like, I'm in it for the money. I want to make a boatload of cash. A couple reasons. One, Proverbs says a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I don't need a yacht. Yes, I would like some nice things. I want a big property backed up to public land so I can haunt my own property and run around with side-by-sides with my kids. Like, that's my dream, honestly. Like, you know, I don't want much out of life, but
it does suck going to a range.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so that's my big dream in life, right? Like, those are the fun toys I want. But okay, I have my son with autism. He's at a place on the spectrum. Who knows where he'll develop to, but he will probably never live alone and he'll probably never get married. So when my wife and I are gone, that responsibility is going to fall to his siblings. I want so much money set aside in a trust that is not even remotely a burden for his siblings, that they can absolutely take care of him, build an addition to their house, get an in-home nurse when he's older. I don't care. Whatever he needs, I want the money. So yes, I'm in it for the money. And I have no problem saying that. And I want to do it. And I sleep well at night knowing that I'm providing an excellent service to get that money versus selling somebody a car that I know is going to explode. The transmission. I'm not a sleazy car salesman here where I'm just trying to scrape cash. I want to provide the best service possible and build a large business and be incredibly profitable in the process.
So what skill sets are you guys working on now, versus the skill sets that you've had to acquire to get to where you are, right? So we all know those skill sets. You had to learn programming, kinesiology. Yeah, I think you have a master's, right? Or working on a master's, getting there. Maybe not, right? But
took about half the
I'm more interested in what are the skill sets that people are currently working on.
Like from a client basis or us?
Or for us to get better.
To get better.
Oh, so I know personally for me, it's been just a ton of just research on metabolic health. Like, something that I'm trying to get really good. He's very, very, very good at these things. I don't know. Yeah, he's going to be humble. But just in general, with like getting better with like reading lab work. Like for me, I want to get very, very in tune with that where I can look at it. I can see what the main problem is. I can kind of develop a plan in order, like prioritize things. Like I just looked at somebody's lab work yesterday or the day before where it was non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And I could see that. Right. And I want to be able to continue to be able to see those things and build protocols and try to help people work around those things. Cause once you're healthy on the inside, everything on the outside follows. That's going to help their mood, energy, and just their whole quality of life is going to be better when you can get to the root cause.
And
that's something that I'm trying to get better at personally. But the programming and all that, I feel like, I'll toot my own horn. I'm pretty good with that at this point. Yeah.
Well, and one of the reasons I brought him on is I'm surrounding myself, like the type of coaches I'm bringing in. I'm like, I can't be good at everything. I'm okay at strength. Like, I'm all right. I can get people decently strong. He's a technician. He's a master. Like, you don't want me teaching you how to bench press because he'll laugh at my bench press sometimes. You will too. And, he's the technician. So I'm like, if somebody comes to me and they're like, I really have this aim of being you've gone to Chap. Like, you're not going to me. He's better than me. You want to be in endurance sports? One of the girls on our team is finishing up her master's and starting her PhD in human clinical nutrition. And she's a genius. She's also an ultra runner. She's training to be the fastest woman to run across the state of Pennsylvania. She ran 100 miles in 20 hours at the F&M track. You want to do, endurance running and whatever else? Like, okay, she's your girl. She's also really good at metabolic health and gut issues and female health. So she's my expert there. I have a woman on my team who has her master's degree in psychology, and she quite literally coaches, or her full-time day job is providing therapy and counseling for terminally ill patients and their families. So talk about bedside manner and ability to work with people in high stress states. So I'm just stacking the deck with people who are better than me in things because I'm at the age in life, I can't be good at all this stuff. Like, I'm a decent programmer. He's the best programmer on the team. So our coaches lean on him when we have questions about things about I leaned on you the other day for Nicole when she was dealing with some of that back issues. I was like, hey man, take a look at this. Here's what I've got. And you're like, yeah, do this. That's not good. Do this. I'm like, oh, sick.
And then we're all kind of feeding off each other too. Like when we have coaches meetings and things like that, we just kind of air it all out and can just kind of go off of each other's strengths. So it's been pretty cool.
So what skills are you leaning towards?
So the metabolic health, the gut health, female hormone health. I think my biggest skill set in life is teaching. I love teaching complex ideas in ways that make tons of sense to people. And helping people discern orders of operations. So obviously we both know Western medicine ranges for labs are ridiculous. It's based off of captive populations of sick people. I'm not trying to be the average of sick people. So then you have functional nutrition ranges, which are great. And a lot of coaches are talking about it, and they're learning that these ranges are not valid. So they're getting the ranges right. But what a lot of people miss, even functional doctors, is looking at ratios of things like lymphocytes to monocytes and stuff like that. Even simple things like knowing what labs to pull for stuff. How many people have been freaked out because they have high creatinine, right? And they don't get a statin C.
We went through that.
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah.
Both of us got our EGFR is like 56. We're like, oh no, chronic kidney failure. We're like, no, get us a statin C. Oh, we're good. A GGT, which is absolutely critical for liver function, is standard on every single panel in every first world country except America. It's super dumb because it's like an $8 test. So that's standard on our labs. How many doctors are pulling just HA1C and glucose? They're not pulling fasted insulin. It's like, come on.
That's something that's a big red flag, right?
Yeah.
I got to tell you so much. You got to see that.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm trying to preach to people, like so many of these disease states, I always tell people like, hey, I cannot get you your dream body in 12 weeks. I'm never going to push that whole like 30 days to beach ready. That's not true. I mean, unless you're 17% body fat and we just want to cut a little bit and you're healthy. Okay. But no, I'm not getting you your dream body in 12 weeks. You've got triglycerides at 190. I'm going to cut that in half in 12 weeks. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. If you do what I say, this is 1 and 1 equals 2. Like it's getting solved. Like this is not even hard. Like just, I will explain to you the mechanisms because I'm a why guy. If I don't know the why, I'm not going to comply. But if you explain to me the why, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I like to teach how these things work. This is why I'm setting up your diet this way. This is why these foods at this time, these specific foods do this. I'm a big food over pharma first. Pharma's great, has its place. Let's get everything we can from our diet, set that up correctly. I'm putting in these supplements. Here's what these supplements do. I'm not a big like, hey, just take this because I told you, right? Like, oh, you have fatty liver disease? Well, choline is really important. So you could go supplement with choline off Amazon if you want, or, one egg has 100 milligrams of choline in it and you need about 500 milligrams. So eat 5 eggs for breakfast. Sweet. And so, we'll set that up. And so that's kind of my world is the metabolic health and then understanding orders of operations, right? So you get somebody. Well, one of the big complaints is like social media is full of so much conflicting information. I think actually a ton of stuff on social media around nutrition is true. The problem is people don't understand context, right? So you hear a soundbite and let's say that, he clips the next little part of this conversation here, and we're talking about SIBO and breaking up biofilms in the gut. And I say, yeah, you really need to pull out potentially even magnesium if there's no motility issues, and vitamin D and zinc, they can really feed the biofilms of the gut. So you have to pull those out while you're breaking up the biofilms. Well, somebody opens TikTok and all they hear is you got to pull out zinc, vitamin D, and magnesium because it feeds the biofilms in the gut. And they're like, wait, I thought all that stuff was good. I've been taking that for years. Like, I got to pull that out because it's bad for my gut health. And it's like, whoa, you just missed the entire context of our discussion. It's for a limited time for this situation. It's going to go back, right? So context, or imagine a female comes to this. I see this all the time. Female come into me, super insulin resistant, insulin in like the 20s and triglycerides closing in on 200. And she also has no progesterone. And her thyroid is super subclinical. Well, carbohydrates support progesterone production and thyroid. So you need them for thyroid, but you're insulin resistant, right? So what do we do? Like that's conflicting because you got to pull the carbohydrates back. You don't have to go no carb, but you need to pull it back and place it strategically while you handle the insulin resistance issues. So for them, like this is an order of operations. I'm going to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the thyroid and progesterone issues over here on the shelf for now. And we're going to tackle this thing first. Get your body in a spot where it can actually handle carbohydrates adequately. And most likely when you lower the insulin resistance, you're still having some carbs in play. When you solve that, these other things, the needle will be moved in a positive direction. Will it go all the way? Maybe not, but okay. Once we solve this problem, now we can lean into that problem. And so that's the type of stuff that I like to do for people is just break it down. I like to teach them when people walk away from me, like they're going to understand what hemoglobin A1C is in a way their doctor never explained.
One thing I've always wondered with the labs is, yes, they're important. I mean, Merrick Health is a sponsor of the thing. So yeah, I get my labs done quarterly. So they're important. But what I would be very interested in was to know what my labs were when I was 18,
Right.
when I was 28, because a lot of the times when you pull somebody in or somebody starts doing their labs, there's no benchmark,
Sure.
right? And hemoglobin's one that, you know, is genetically always high, right, in my family. So there's not really a whole fucking lot we're going to be able to do about it. We can do some, but not this big dip. But somebody could see that and be like, oh, fuck, this is really, really bad.
Right.
But I got one of the other really interesting ones I had, and this because I do have, date myself here. I started doing labs in like 92, 93. So like on an annual basis, my, because when you're a meathead, right? Every doctor you go to, if you have a cold, it's because of the testosterone, right? It doesn't, I can have a fucking ingrown thumb now and it's the testosterone.
That's right.
It was fucking ridiculous. It's better now because I don't see those idiots, but it's better now. But I had this inverse relationship. Every time my testosterone was high, the hemoglobin would be a little bit lower. Then I had this inverse. So anytime that somebody would look at my labs, right, and they see the high hemoglobin, the default is, man, this testosterone, you have to lower this. And I get it. Like we all get why that's the case.
Right.
And until I started going, like here's like 10 years of lab work,
Right,
to say what they're saying is, and I was an asshole at the time. So I'm like, so what you're saying, you know, based upon your philosophy is I need to take more shit. Because if I took even more, it should drop, right? But that's why I say that the benchmark, like how with the people that you've had long term, because you've been doing this for a while,
Yeah.
you begin to see what their benchmark is.
Yeah.
Like how long does that take? How many labs do you think that takes?
That takes a little while. Sometimes
Yeah.
people come to you with historical data, but yeah, we're observing trends. I mean, some things, everybody's different, but we do know where healthy ranges
Sure.
need to be. So, yes, it is helpful over time to create benchmarks for people. Well, take an example. If you're a runner, if you're an ultra runner, doctors freak out all the time because if you are a distance runner of any kind, you will almost always have elevated HA1C every time, right? Because they're constantly pounding their feet on the pavement and their red blood cells are quite literally, instead of being an average lifespan of 90 days, are going down to 60, which is fine because their body's making more, but HA1C is falsely going up. And they're like, oh my goodness, you're insulin resistant. We need to put you on metformin or whatever else. It's like, well, hey, maybe pull a fasted insulin. Maybe ask them some questions and figure it out. Like they're fine. Like they're okay. You know, understand what's going on here. Or again, for somebody who's heavily muscled, hey doc, the creatinine's okay. If you're really concerned, get us a statin C. They're good.
I think one of the problems too we run into a lot is people will come to us with their labs that they already got pulled, and there's just so many missing pieces to really get a full picture. Like, you know, the insulin one is like, I just don't even know why you wouldn't include that on a standard lab panel, but we get these labs from people because they'll reach out for a consult, and, you know, we have a standard lab that we draw that has everything, not everything, but it has enough to actually come up with things. And there's just so much missing. So sometimes I'm going, why are we even pulling this without this? It doesn't. Well,
because they're essentially just looking for cholesterol.
Yeah.
Like just do the finger prick and there you go.
It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, that irritates me. Or my favorite is just getting TSH only. I'm like,
oh my
thank
gosh,
you for nothing. That's great. You know, or total testosterone.
You need all those ratios. You got to see everything and see how it all intertwines. Right. And then sometimes all those numbers can come back. Like I just did a thyroid panel the other day and everything was within range. Okay. You look at the ratios though, there was something off there. Right? So it was like, okay, we got to make some dietary adjustments. So it's just like a little off, but nonetheless, if you continue to do what you're doing, it's going to end up getting way off, but just within range doesn't necessarily mean good either. Cause you got to look at the ratios with everything as well.
Yeah.
For the benchmark labs, the biggest use case of this that I can see is if somebody's not taking anabolics and they want to start taking anabolics, they should get the benchmark before they start, right? Because in today's world, most people who do start anabolics, at least from my perception, it does come with labs, you know, eventually. Right. There's still a fuck ton that don't, but more do than have ever done before.
Correct.
They realize this. There's probably a greater density of people on shit that get their labs done than people who aren't on shit.
Well, and I think I think that's why bodybuilders are really like, if you look at the bodybuilding community and the science that comes out with the lab work, they're almost far above and beyond. Like a lot of the knowledge is coming from the bodybuilding space because they can't afford to miss, right? They're taking all that stuff. They're looking at every little thing in blood work because they get the labs done constantly, and they can't afford to miss because they're literally playing with their lives.
Which is way better than the old way. You just take the shit until you see side effects and you dial it back down. Where
100%.
now, you know, a lot of them are finding their doses of certain compounds don't need to be what they thought they needed to be.
Absolutely.
And their results are way better, you know,
100%.
because of all that, because the higher doses were fucking down. There was secondary effects,
Big time.
that weren't even associated really with the compound that they thought.
Right.
But that affected their recovery and all the other stuff. They bring that down or change compounds or whatever it's going to be. It's like it's a whole different world.
Big time.
Yeah.
I think the value for us in getting labs, because some people will say, some coaches will argue it's overkill to get labs on everybody. Look, if you said to yourself, I want 90% of the food that I eat to be whole, real food. I'm going to do something moderately difficult 3 days a week. I'm going to walk 7,000 steps a day, 10,000 steps a day, whatever. I'm going to get good sleep. If you walk that road long enough, you're going to get to a pretty decent end state. But the reason I like to get labs is if I can lift the hood on that car and see exactly what's going on, I can get results faster. Also, there's the emotional wins too, because this takes a lot of discipline to upend your lifestyle, depending on what your starting point was. And so, no, I'm not getting you your dream body in 12 weeks. That is just out of the question. And I'm not going to sell you that lie, but I can make meaningful changes if there's some serious issues going on. So we get it at the starting point, 12 weeks in, I can show you, hey, look, we cut your triglycerides in half. So when you look in the mirror, you see some positive changes, but you're not where you want to be yet. But now you have objective data points to be like, no, but I'm walking the right direction. Like the things that I'm doing are making a meaningful impact. So it's those two reasons. It's like, it allows me to be like a sniper and set the diet up exactly correctly from the start, and then get them some emotional wins very early on to be like, hey, you're walking this right path. And then too, I get people all the time that come to me that look fairly healthy. So you'd think, probably not necessary. They're young. I just got a guy last week, 44, business owner, does martial arts twice a week, lifts 3 days a week, and plays rec league basketball for a couple hours every week. And they eat fairly clean. And I got his lab work back and it was a train wreck. I mean, his LDL was like 190. His triglycerides are like 340, fasted insulin of 24. But on the outside, he looked pretty good and he's living the healthy life. But then, of course, I had him track his food for a week. And I'm like, okay, all right, we got some discrepancies here. But if I would have just put him on a diet, would he have gotten to his end state? Probably. But now I can be a sniper. Like, I'm gonna cut that in half and like, fast. We're going to solve this problem.
And I think it's also like a lot of times it can be motivation for people too. We always talk, discipline, not motivation.
Well, it's a metric.
But when somebody can get a measurable result, it's just like with powerlifting, we're chasing numbers, right?
Yeah.
And you're seeing the results. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep going. So when you start getting regular lab work with people and they can see positive change, it's like, okay, like something's happening. I'm getting it done, because, you look in the mirror every day, you're not going to notice those changes anyway.
Be careful with the meatheads. Right? Because you can realize, hey, I take a statin 2 days before the labs. If I drink a gallon of water before I go in, instead of just, trust me, they find ways to hack the labs.
Which is exactly the opposite of what they should be doing, because you want a realistic look. It's kind of like the guys that are, they wait, they're like, okay, I'm just going to wait until like, about 6 weeks after the meet's over, and then I'm going to go get it checked, and, I'm going to see where I'm at. No, you want to get it checked during your peak. You want to see where you're at when you want to see what your worst looks like, because that's going to be the aha moment. Okay, maybe if I want to be around a little longer, I might want to change some of the ways.
Well, not only that, but other compounds affect people differently. I don't know why, and I cannot explain the mechanisms of action, and I know it was real stuff, but Anavar jacks up my liver more than Anadrol. Tell me in what world that makes sense.
Well, that goes back to the whole baseline thing that I was talking about.
Right.
Everybody's going to react different.
Correct, which is why labs are important, because that makes 0 sense on paper. But I'm serious. Like, I can take 40 milligrams of Anavar and it's going to screw my lipids, my ALT, AST, GGT, everything's going to start climbing up. And then I could take 50 milligrams of, Anadrol and like nothing, no movement.
I still would kind of default to how you know it's real. That's
right.
That's still, it's interesting because I've been using shit for a long time. So it's just see how all these things kind of evolve
Right.
over
Yeah.
a period of time. And, a few years ago, it's like, I know everything's good because the underground labs are so competitive. They can't have bad shit going out.
That's not true.
And then you'll find just
Nope.
not a couple months ago, a random study of 11 different compounds in Australia or some shit like that were all pulled, from underground labs, and none of it was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Different compounds, different doses.
Oh, I just
Yeah.
found one of my guys was using fake Primo, and I knew that because his estrogen is,
Yeah.
way out of whack. And I'm like, hey, this is not real.
Mhm.
Which, to a guy is not good, but less detrimental. But the females out there that are running that.
Well, yeah. I mean, a female that thinks they're taking
50
Anavar, but
yeah.
taking D-ball.
like, that's a problem.
It's going to be a big problem.
That's going to be a big, at this point in life, I'm running the old man stack, which is like, I'm just on TRT. And then, if I want to beef up a little bit, I might throw a little bit of mast,
Mhm.
That's it. I don't, GH.
I don't have to worry about it
I'll
because
do a
I
little
missed
bit
so
of
many
GH.
fucking doses that if I want to beef up, I already have a stockpile.
GH and then 1 milligram of retatrutide right now. It's the most powerful GDA out there. I'm not taking it for appetite suppression at all.
While it's still out there.
While it's still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that's becoming a whole cluster.
It is. It is.
People are looking at that one. That one is just crazy with all the social media presence and everything like that. And people, I mean, I've had like 20-year-old kids come up to me and be like, do you think I should take this? I'm like, no, you should not take this. Like you're, maybe 15% body fat. Like, what are you really trying to do? You're just in the gym training and you're going to put that in but it doesn't make any sense.
Well, the peptides have kind of replaced what SARMs were a few years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a weird one with that. It's my hydraulic for the monolift. It just went off. We have hydraulic jacks on the monolift.
That's amazing.
That way you don't have to crank.
Oh, that's
It just-
nice.
And you gotta forget to turn it off beforehand, but it's fucking nice, man.
Yeah, that's
Shows
nice.
up, and then right back down.
Yeah, you got the nice
Yeah.
toys. Let's go.
We just put that in there 6 weeks ago. Greatest thing ever. Fucking great. Trying to figure out how to put it on the benches,
Oh, man.
so you don't have to do the lever.
Yeah.
But
That would be nice.
We'll have hoses falling all over this place before too long.
That's awesome.
Were there any other topics you guys wanted to go over I didn't bring up?
Man, we covered the gamut.
God, we got through a lot.
Yeah, this was fun. No, man, I just love what we do, and I just love helping people get better.
With the labs, I got to
Yeah.
throw this out here. How do you balance, because the skill sets that you're developing and so forth, how you balance that with LLMs, now being part of the world to where, you can throw labs in an LLM now,
Yep.
right? And it's not going to be great, right? Give it a year or two.
Yeah, it'll probably be pretty good.
It'll probably be better than a human, right?
Yeah,
So
most likely.
So how do you balance your skill sets with the evolving technology?
Sure.
Because this even plays into the programming. If I've been using LLMs forever,
Yep.
so I can get better programming out of my LLM than I can not. But the average person that's just going to throw in, open chat GPT and dump shit in there, no, it's not going to be the case. I've been using it for a while just to see where the holes can arise, but it is technology that is here, right? That can advance a business or destroy a business.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you balance all
Yeah.
I think you kind of hit it there. Is like when you're an actual expert, you're going to see the holes, right? There's going to be things that are wrong. It's not going to individualize to everything that needs to be individualized. So, I think it can be used to increase efficiency, right? And maybe even help you reach more people because you can, get through a little bit more work here and there. But I don't think it can ever take the place of that human eye entirely because there's so many details and nuances that have to go into it.
I'm not even worried about it replacing the human eye. Like it will replace the human eye. I mean, here's what I do. So I can show you a document I have for all of our coaches, but I have so many resources that I've written on lab work, not just what functional ranges are, but like, hey, here are all of the ratios that you need to look for. And I use it all the time. It's my content that I've assimilated and come up with, but I get somebody's labs now. I'm not getting out my highlighter and be like, okay, get my calculator out. What are their lymphocytes? What are their monocytes? I'm not doing all that. I have all that stuff pre-made. I'm uploading their labs into the LLM and using my framework and telling it to analyze and pull out the issues. And then I'm scanning down through and going, yep, that's right. Cool.
Exactly. You
And,
have to
and
still
I'm
see
using
if it's
it.
right.
Yes.
And I'm double checking. I don't even care about that though, because in the next 10, 15, 20 years, the two areas that I think are going to explode are trades and anything with genuine, real human connection, because I can get loads of training stuff for free. Why in the world I do this? Why do I still have a coach? People get coaching for knowledge, accountability, and convenience, or a mixture of the three. At this point, I'm not getting it for knowledge anymore. I'm getting it for accountability. I paid dollars down. And if I self-coach, I'm going to do one of two things. Even though I know this stuff, I'm either going to think, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm doing too much, and I'm going to constantly change the program, which is terrible. Or on the other hand, I'm going to give myself grace where I shouldn't, be like, I can skip that unilateral work. I don't need to do that core work. But if I'm paying loads of dollars, I want to get the ROI. So I'm going to do the work. And then also someone's checking in the accountability, and it's convenience for me. I coach people all day, every day. I don't want to think about my own plan. I just want to open my phone and go do it. And so people want human connection. They can get all the data online for free. Everything that I know is online, right? So it's people can go learn it. I mean, but this is why I have an accountant, right? Like you could go learn every single thing that your tax guy knows, but how much time and energy and effort would that take? And also, knowledge is not wisdom applied. So how long would it take you to get the experience to know what he knows, do the work he does for you? Instead, you're like, I don't have time for that. I'm going to take this renewable resource, which is dollars. I'm going to give it to you because that's your passion. You go solve my problems. So you're buying two things. And same thing with coaching. You're buying that person's expertise, but you're also buying your own time back from having to worry about it. Like that's the value exchange and the human relationship. So I don't even care. Like I'm going to leverage the technology as it gets good to just drive my effectiveness higher. You know?
Well, I think the point that you're missing there is the skill set that in this field that I see that people have to double down on is communication and the ability to teach.
Yes.
Right. Because if you remove what the LLMs are doing, right? If you're using them and you had to still do that manually, that's a lot of time.
Correct.
Right. So if you remove 50% of the time, maybe even more that was spent just building the fucking spreadsheets and reviewing the data, you don't have to do that anymore. That's just done on an instant. That means there's more people you can serve.
100%.
Right. And then the way you serve those people is the ability to teach.
Yes.
You know, what's in there. The accountability falls under that teaching and the ability to communicate, which is, I think these are great things because if the skill set that's going to help people to achieve is teaching and communication, what's been lost the most in the past 15 years, right? The ability to teach and to communicate. So it's going to, the incentives are changing, right? The society is going to grow and move based upon what's being incentivized. Right. If what's being incentivized is being a lazy fuck that doesn't know how to communicate with other people, then that's going to be rewarded. Right. If the incentive is going to become, look, the way that you're going to prosper is your ability to teach and to communicate, then what skill set is naturally going to rise to the surface.
Right. And that's so critical. I mean, it's a nice little dovetail. Shout out to our guys, over at Turnkey Coach, our mutual friend, Matt Reynolds, because we use his platform. I've been using it for a couple years now. In fact, Matt asked me a couple years ago to coach him, and then he was like, but I want you to beta test this program. And so they've been just such a blessing. Anytime that I'm like, hey, we need this feature, we need this thing, like go build that. So, shout out to those guys for being my personal dev team that I don't have to pay for. And so, but one of the things I love about Turnkey is like the integrated screen recordings. Because when I write something and text somebody something, that's like communicating in kilobytes of data. And then if I send a voice note, which you can do, that's like megabytes. And then video is like terabytes. So I reply to all of my clients with video check-ins, like their nutrition and stuff. And so they can see my body language, my tone of voice. I can teach and explain so much better, but it's also a time saver for me. When I'm explaining this concept over 5 minutes, how long would it take to write that essay out? Or if I need to hold somebody accountable and be like, hey, you committed to this and you dropped the ball. And if you really want to move the needle, like I need to see these behaviors this next week. Like I'm going to have to craft this message and make it harsh and direct, but then also let them know that I care. And like, what? I can just send this video and it's so much more impactful. And I'm talking with my clients, I set a standard. I will always reply back within 24 hours, Monday through Friday. And this morning I was sitting on my laptop in the hotel lobby, sending videos to people, answering questions. And so communication is massive. And I think leveraging the technologies in the right way, along with teaching and communication skills, it's going to help people rock it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People love to see the face. Like we were doing Loom videos for a little bit. And then when Turnkey integrated that feature, I mean, it's just great for retention, relationship building. You're getting more from your people as well. They leave voice notes back. They type longer responses because they're seeing your face. They're seeing your expressions. It's just building that relationship, which is really what people want that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big missing piece today.
How can people go about finding you guys?
Yeah, so I'm Meathead Professor on Instagram, and I always think it's corny when people give themselves nicknames. I did not give myself that. So I taught high school logic, actually, for a couple years. And my high school students found my Instagram a couple years ago, and they were like, Coach Anthony Diehl sounds really stupid. And they did this school-wide poll for Professor Meathead, but that was already taken. So they made me do Meathead Professor. So that's where that came from. So you can find me at Meathead Professor, Meathead Prof on X, and just Anthony Diehl on Facebook.
Yeah, mine is Big Daddy Chap with underscores between. And that was after my wife was pregnant with our daughter. I switched mine over and never changed it. I was teaching high school at the time when it changed, and the kids had a lot of fun. They're like, what's Big Daddy Chap about? You know, but I didn't change it. I didn't move the needle. So that's what I am still.
All right. Any final thoughts from you guys?
Hey, thank you so much for having us. This is an honor and a privilege, and appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much.
And we're done.
All content you see on this channel and at elitefts.com is created by, take a guess, Elite FTS. If you want to help support the content, head over to elitefts.com and pick up literally anything that you need to be able to get more jacked and strong.